2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a massive Football Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, channel 375, of course on the free Odyssey app, and as always, streaming on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. And you could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Ty Dunne is going to stop by at the top of the hour at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time. Andrew Perloff, you may have heard of him. He is the host of the Maggie and Perloff Show right here on many of these same stations on the Infinity Sports Network. He will be joining us at 5:20 p.m. Eastern time, 2:20 p.m. Pacific today to do a little NFL picks. So we got a whole lot to get to. But folks, we have almost made it to divisional round weekend in the National Football League. Texans and Chiefs will kick things off tomorrow. Texans typical Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time slot. You got the Commanders and the Lions on the nightcap on Saturday. And then on Sunday, I'll be in South Philadelphia for Rams and Eagles. And after that, you got the most anticipated game of the weekend between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. I want to start off, though, with the Chiefs, who are going up against the Texans. I do believe the Texans can cover the spread. I do think the Texans can win the game. Do I pick the Texans? No, I'm not. I'm taking the Chiefs, but I would gobble up the points right now, and I would jump on the Texans plus the 8 with Kansas City winning the game by a touchdown or less is pretty much how I feel this is going to go. Whether that's 7 or 3 or 4, who knows? But I think Kansas City is going to win by a touchdown or less. Big picture, though, this is the start of the Chiefs' postseason run since they didn't play last week. The NFL postseason can officially commence for Kansas City with them getting into action, going into Arrowhead, and playing in front of their home crowd on Saturday. Big picture, though, what's on the line long-term in this run through the next 4 weeks potentially for Kansas City? Divisional round weekend, conference championship weekend, bye week, and then the Super Bowl. I think it's two things. One, it's Kansas City doing something that no team has done in the Super Bowl era, and that's win back-to-back-to-back championships. Obvious statement. But when you look at the greatest quarterback conversation of all time, I think Mahomes can move up the list, not to the number one spot, but I think he could move up the number one list, up the top 4 list or so to the 2 spot with the Lombardi Trophy this season or his next Lombardi Trophy. But definitely if he gets one this year. So the way that I look at it right now, in the Super Bowl era, I think the 4 greatest quarterbacks of all time, in the 4th spot is Peyton Manning. In the 3rd spot, right now, today, it's Patrick Mahomes. Joe Montana's then in the 2nd spot. And then the GOAT, Tom Brady, in at the number 1 spot. And you look at 3 simple things. How many Super Bowls have you won? How many Super Bowl MVPs have you won? And then how many league MVPs have you won? And that's pretty much how we judge and we have these tiebreakers when you look at the 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time. I think the one outlier, right, or maybe even the 2 outliers, is Dan Marino is considered, in that top 5 range somewhere, definitely top 10. You could make the case, some people would argue Marino's in the top 5. Some people would say he's just outside of it in the 6th, 7th, or 8th spot. Marino's the lone guy in the Super Bowl era that does not have a Super Bowl championship nor a Super Bowl MVP that gets thrown into the top 10 conversation, and in some conversations, the top 5. But you look at those 4 quarterbacks in particular, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, and Tom Brady. This is the breakdown right now in the Super Bowl era. Peyton Manning, 2 Super Bowl championships, 1 Super Bowl MVP, 5 league MVPs. Patrick Mahomes, 3 Super Bowl championships, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 league MVPs. Joe Montana, 4 Super Bowl championships, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 league MVPs. And then Tom Brady, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7 Super Bowl championships, 5 Super Bowl MVPs, and then he has 3 league MVPs. And the 2 times he did not win the Super Bowl MVP, they went to Deion Branch, and that was Super Bowl 39 when the Patriots beat the Eagles, and then his last Super Bowl championship in New England, which was Super Bowl 53 when it did go to Julian Edelman. So I don't think Mahomes can do anything in this run, this year, to get him into the number 1 spot. Now, for future years potentially, Patrick Mahomes could have this trump card if he wins a championship this year. I'm the only quarterback in the Super Bowl era to win 3 straight Super Bowl championships. That's something Tom Brady wasn't able to do. Brady did have back-to-back championships. That was in 2003, 2004. We haven't had a back-to-back Super Bowl winner since the Chiefs just did it the last 2 years when they were able to take out Philadelphia, and then they followed it up with taking out the San Francisco 49ers. So that's the one trump card Mahomes could have over Brady. But Brady could also say, I see your 3 straight Lombardi trophies. Who beat you in the AFC Championship game when you were in Kansas City? At home, me. Who beat you in the Super Bowl when I joined a new team and I went up against you when you were with the Kansas City Chiefs and already well established, not like your first 2 years of starter like I beat you in the AFC Championship game? Me. So it's going to be tough for Mahomes to move past Brady. But if you think about what I said to start, the 4 quarterbacks are Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana, and Tom Brady. In the order of Brady, Montana, Mahomes, Manning. Think about what Mahomes has already done. We are sitting here, and we are talking about a guy who got drafted in 2017. And we are talking about him already as the 3rd greatest quarterback of all time. And as someone, if he wins a championship this year or on his next championship, we would feel pretty confident in putting him in the Montana spot as the second greatest quarterback ever. So I know the Montana fan, because this is the Montana fan's best argument. Well, Joe got to 4 Super Bowls and he won all 4. Never lost one. Now, I understand when you're in these dopey tiebreakers, you say things that it knocks down a legend to prop the other one up. That one, to me, is always a fascinating argument. And I dealt with it when Brady was at 4, when Brady was at 5. And you would have talk show hosts say, well, yeah, Brady has won 4 championships, but he lost 2, at the time. Or Brady has won 5 championships, but he lost 2, right? That's what was said at the time. And I've always found that argument to be stupid. Because, yes, Montana has never lost a Super Bowl, but that just means in the other years he lost earlier. So, we're punishing Brady and we're punishing, in this case, Mahomes, because Mahomes lost to Brady once and Brady has 3 Super Bowl championship losses to the Giants twice, and then he threw for 505 yards and lost to the Eagles. Now, Brady blew everyone out of the water. When you win 7 and, you maybe want to play that argument of, oh, Montana never lost, and, I'd still rather have 5 over 4, but it used to be a closer argument. Once Brady won his 6, I don't think anyone, unless if you're like Rob Parker, who just hates Tom Brady, and he made a career off of it, let's be real. I don't think anyone with a straight face could look you in the eyes and say, oh, Montana's the better quarterback than Tom Brady, with what Brady was able to accomplish and now Brady's career is over. But think about that I'm already willing to put Mahomes as the 3rd greatest quarterback of all time, and I have great respect for Peyton Manning, right? Who would have ever thought with what Peyton Manning did, we'd be sitting here, and I know he's already in the Hall of Fame, right, and all that, but we would already be talking about him being closer to being out of the top 5 than he would be getting to the number 1 spot. Because he's at 4 right now. And Mahomes has already surpassed him. And that, to me, is just crazy. Manning is one of the greatest regular season quarterbacks of all time. Maybe the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. But the trajectory that Mahomes is on, and you factor in that Mahomes has already blew past him in Super Bowl championships and Super Bowl MVPs, that's unbelievable. It really is. And look how contentious that argument was for years between Brady and Montana. You look at Joe Montana and you see back at his career and what he was able to accomplish. The fact that Joe Montana, right, who retired in 1994, had that greatest quarterback of all time tag, clearly all the way through 2013, 14, 15, 16, in that realm, that's unbelievable. It's a long time. And it shows how special he is. And now Tom Brady, who just got out of the league in 2022, I know it's our culture now where we say, oh, this guy's the GOAT, this guy's the GOAT. You have guys that are not GOATs that we say, oh, that's the GOAT. Who was it? Oh, it was one of these college basketball players in the draft that said Paul George is his GOAT. I think it was from 2 draft classes ago. I forget who it was, but kid ended up being a top 3 pick. And he goes, oh, Paul George is my GOAT. You guys remember who it was?
I think it was Brandon Miller.
Yeah, you're right. From Alabama. Yeah, that's who it was. And when he said that, I'm like, Paul George is your GOAT? I go, okay, that could be your favorite player of all time. For example, my favorite baseball player of all time is Mike Piazza. Would I sit here and say Mike Piazza is the greatest baseball player ever? No. Could I argue that he's the greatest catcher of all time? Sure. And I wouldn't get a lot of pushback for that. There'd be other people like Johnny Bench, you talk about them. But to say that Paul George is the GOAT, greatest of all time, that has kind of been intertwined with, who your favorite player is. But Mahomes is on a special trajectory right now. And we shouldn't take this for granted. Because you look at what the Patriots did for 20 years. What did we say when Brady left New England? We'll never see that again. Think about that. Because that's how special, that's how unique, especially in a salary cap era, what they've been able to do in a team sport, that was unprecedented, right? Like, you look right now, who are the two teams with the most Super Bowl championships in the history of the league? The New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They both have 6. Tom Brady has 7 rings. 7 rings. And you could argue that he should have won one of the Giants won. And his best Super Bowl performance actually came in a loss when he threw for 505 yards up against the Eagles and they didn't win the game. So he actually could have had more than 7, but you argue with what he has. You know, he only has 7. So, I say only 7. That probably is the piss off, Stu. But anyway, it's like, it's fascinating when you dumb this down. And I don't really think much can be argued with what I just said. Like, Stu, in the Super Bowl era, do you think you could argue the order right now of Brady 1, Montana 2, Mahomes 3, and Peyton Manning 4? Whether you think someone was left off that list or whether you think the order 1, 2, 3, 4 should be different.
I think that's the order. I think the one that could be argued is Peyton Manning just because of his lack of postseason success, especially through his prime years. Mm-hmm. Maybe that could be an Aaron Rodgers type. Maybe that could be a John Elway type.
Okay.
I wouldn't make that argument, but I think that's the one that could be poked up. I think 1 to 3 is no-brainer.
Now, the thing, though, with Manning is you're right. He's a 500 quarterback in his postseason career. Now, even though at the end he got that Super Bowl championship, he played really well in the AFC Championship game. You give him credit for. But getting that Super Bowl, that second Super Bowl, even though that was really Von Miller's Super Bowl, and Manning had a few lame duck throws in that game that I still don't know how the Carolina Panthers did not pick them off. But he won a second championship. Like, if Manning only had 1 and he has 5 league MVPs and only 1 Super Bowl MVP, I think that the conversation is a little bit more open. But getting that second, looking back at it, did wonders for the legacy conversation of Manning. Because, like, Peyton Manning was never beating Tom Brady in a legacy conversation. The only time there was a chance of that happening was like 03, 04. But still, by then, Brady already had 3 rings, and Brady's career exponentially got better. You know, he was better in the regular season and still was able to put on 4 more championships. So it's a fair point with Manning. But you said Rodgers. Rodgers in the top 10, he ain't in the top 5. Because Aaron Rodgers, right, is pretty much Peyton Manning without the second Super Bowl. And I used to think it was big last year. I forget which writer we had on. But it was even before Mahomes won the 3rd championship where I said, if he gets this 3rd, he's already going to blow past Aaron Rodgers. And I go, think about that statement with how we talk about Aaron Rodgers. And the guy I was talking to said, without question, absolutely. So to see how many Titans that Mahomes has already been able to slay, like you look at it, Elway, Marino, in my opinion, Peyton Manning, you know, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, you know, and like, if you want, I'm not going to get into the Johnny Unitas and the Otto Graham. Whenever we talk about this, I always go, what about Unitas? What about Graham? You know, that's just not I'm not saying that those guys don't have a place, obviously, in the greatness and the annals of NFL history. But in like the year of 2025, when we're having that conversation, they're not on the forefront. But I'll say this, like in the last 30, 40 years, right? If we do it that way and dumb it down that way, if you want to put it in like the last 40, 45 years, the 4 greatest quarterbacks ever, you know, if you want to just go in the Super Bowl era, are Brady, Montana, Mahomes, and Manning. That's what it is to me. And to see where we're at right now and have Mahomes be on the precipice of moving into the 2nd spot is just absolutely bonkers. Because when you look at it, he sat on the bench early on in his career too. Like, yeah, he got drafted in 2017, but he didn't end up having his first full season until 2018, and he won a league MVP that year. So he sat on the bench for 1 year. That's pretty damn cool in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Only 7. Now 8. Right? Oh, no, this is 7 years since playing that he's already in the 3rd greatest quarterback of all time. And you can make the case that he's the 2nd if he wins his next championship. So that's what I think's on the line for Mahomes. He is chasing, solidifying himself as the 2nd greatest quarterback of all time. But more importantly, if he ever wants to move into that number 1 spot, which he still has a long ways to go. Pretty impressive start. Even I will say so myself. I know that's big of me. But if he wants to get into that number 1 spot, he's got to have a trump card over Brady. And you could do that in a few ways. 1, you get to 8 championships. Or if you get to 7, you need a tiebreaker. Because Brady could say, hey, I beat you twice in the playoffs. Which I still don't think gets appreciated enough, if I'm being fair. Like, imagine if Michael Jordan beat LeBron James in a conference final and NBA finals. We'd be like salivating over that. It'd be like nuts with the way that'd be talked about. But in these conversations, it does not get mentioned enough that Brady beat Mahomes in an AFC championship game and a Super Bowl. But if Mahomes wants that trump card, he could do something this postseason that Tom Brady has never done before. The great Tom Brady. And that's win 3 straight Lombardi trophies. So what do you think when we get into the legacy conversation of NFL quarterbacks in the Super Bowl era? To me, Peyton Manning 4. Mahomes right now 3. Could be 2 if he wins the Super Bowl this year. Joe Montana still for now at 2. And then Tom Brady in that number 1 spot. 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. We'll take a break. When we come on back, Stu and I are going to give you a non-quarterback to watch this weekend in the 4 matchups that we have when we have the Bills and the Ravens, the Commanders and the Lions, the Chiefs and the Texans, and also the LA Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
So I gave you my top 4 greatest quarterbacks of all time in the Super Bowl era. And those were Tom Brady, numero uno, Joe Montana, numero dos. You then had in the 3 spot, Patrick Mahomes, and then Peyton Manning in F4. I just did a quick Google search. Let's see like an article from over the summer. Someone that has time to kill. They got to write about the NFL, and you don't want to cover monotonous training camp. So USA Today put out a list. Robert Zaglinski, who I have never heard of. Sounds like a fake name, if I'm being honest. And I click on his bio, and nothing comes up there. So I don't know if this is an AI article or not, but I'm assuming it isn't. So here are his top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time. And this was published in July of 2024, so this past summer. He had Drew Brees in at 10, Fran Tarkenton in at number 9, John Elway in at number 8, Aaron Rodgers in at number 7, Peyton Manning in at number 6, Otto Graham in at number 5. I'm assuming Unitas is somewhere in here. Mahomes 4, Johnny Unitas 3, Joe Montana 2, and then Tom Brady 1. Now, no Bart Starr mentioned in there, who in the Super Bowl era had 2 Super Bowl championships and 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He also won 5 NFL championships as well. And we had someone call in, I think from Green Bay during the break. And they said, well, what about Bart Starr in the top 10 quarterbacks of all time? Which is totally fair. And Stu, you have a question based off of that. What's your question over Bart Starr? I didn't know you were such a football historian when you look back at 56 to 71 when he played for the Go Pack Go. But you had a very, very, very important question.
Very.
As you were talking back to this person.
Yes. So obviously we have Bart Starr, famous Packer, Green Bay.
Do we know any other famous Barts around here? I can't think of one.
We got Bart Simpson.
Bart Scott. Can't
Bart
wait.
Scott.
Poetic Justice.
Anyone
Any other
else?
Barts that we know?
Oh, Bart Winkler.
Who?
Who?
Oh, Bart Winkler. Oh, that's right. Who
So-
does a great job from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern time right here on the Infinity Sports Network with Carlos with a K.
So Bart Winkler, obviously in Milwaukee, Packers fan. I would assume his family's a Packers fan. Did they name him after Bart Starr?
That's a great question. I think it's possible. I don't know too many people named Bart, if I'm being honest. Let me text Bart Winkler. He may be busy with his kid right now as the kid's home from daycare. Quick question for you, Bart. Are you named after Bart Starr? For some reason, my question mark wasn't working there for a second. Got to have some punctuation that is correct. I'm going to say yes. What would your guess be?
I'm going to say yes, too.
If you had to name your future son, Stu, after an athlete, what athlete would you name your son after? Just wondering. Future son, Stu. What would the athlete be?
I don't know. So it's weird because I had a dog that was named Kobe.
Okay, my dog was named Brady.
So, see, that would be like the obvious one, but like...
Don't tell me it's a soccer player.
No, I don't really have... I guess I don't really have one.
All right, let's do this. Who's your favorite baseball player of all time?
A-Rod.
Really?
Yes.
Wait, you like A-Rod over Derek Jeter?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yes.
Number two, Derek.
Love Jeter, but A-Rod was my favorite player.
Number 2. Wow, I'm stunned by that. Okay, so Alex Rodriguez, Alex Kovacs.
Yeah. No.
Don't sound good. Your favorite NBA player is obviously the late, great Kobe Bryant. Kobe Kovacs. Not great. Who is your favorite NFL player of all time?
Rich Gannon.
Rich Kovacs? Set up for some financial success.
It's not terrible.
Not terrible. And who's your favorite hockey player?
I guess I'll go Jack Hughes since I'm kind of new to the hockey world. So
Jack Kovacs?
Jack Kovacs,
Don't love it. Who's your favorite soccer player?
Mohamed Salah.
Mohamed Salah Kovacs.
So, I don't...
I kind of like that. I think that one flows the best. Mohamed Salah Kovacs. Messi Kovacs.
Maybe Brady Kovacs for Brady Quinn? I don't know.
Oh, Brady Kovacs is
it's
good.
Not terrible.
Now, let's try to do this exercise for me. Okay. My favorite baseball player of all time is Mike Gelb. I do have an Uncle Michael. So Michael Gelb, I got to wait for, in the Jewish religion, you got to wait until the person's dead to name him after. That's what you're supposed to do. So I don't want to put my uncle on the clock. So I'm not going to go there. Favorite NFL player, Tom Brady. Thomas Gelb, don't sound great. My favorite NBA player, it's weird, I despise him as a head coach, but I did grow up as a massive Jason Kidd fan. Jason Gelb's not bad, except one of my best friends is Jason, so that's a little bit weird if I did that. And then hockey, it's Henrik Lundqvist. Henrik Gelb. Hank Gelb. I kind of like it. Not a bad one. And soccer, I don't care. Ack, if you had to name your son, let's just say, after your favorite, who's your favorite football player of all time?
Favorite football? If you
no, just
well, there are two.
Okay.
John Stallworth and Lawrence Taylor.
Okay, Lawrence Ackerman.
Nah.
And you said John Stallworth?
Yes.
John Ackerman. That's all right.
It's not bad.
It's not great, but it's not bad.
Yes.
Who's your favorite basketball? Patrick Ewing, right?
No, Walt Frazier.
Oh,
Walter Ackerman.
Walter Ackerman.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotta have good suits. I'll tell you that.
Sounds like an accountant, Walter Ackerman. You know.
Who's your favorite hockey player of all time?
Mark Messier.
Mark Ackerman. That's
that
not
works.
bad.
That
sounds
works.
generic enough.
Yeah.
And who's your favorite baseball player of all time?
It's a good question. Nobody pops into my head. Probably Steve Garvey. That was my guy.
Steve
growing
Ackerman.
Up. There you go.
It's not bad. I think Ack has the best list there.
Thank you.
I do. Soccer player. You're a big soccer guy, right?
It would be Pele.
Oh, okay. I kind of Pele Ackerman.
There you go.
That would be good.
But yeah,
Right.
you missed one though. College basketball player, James Worthy.
James Ackerman. Not bad.
Thank you.
So Bart Winkler responded. We're wondering if he was named after Bart Starr. Now, I'm reading this as I am seeing it. So if Bart is inappropriate here, get your finger on the dump button. I don't know if he will be. I don't think I am, but over the course of my life, I have convinced my parents that I am. So my parents will tell you that I am, but it's because I wore them down about it. Man, that's awesome. So his parents told him, Bart, you are not named after Bart Starr. He has wore them down enough and bitched and complained to them enough and have implored them to acknowledge it. They go, alrighty, let's just tell little Bart that Bart is named after Bart Starr. That's something. That speaks into the Winkler family relationship. Alrighty, Stu, let's go through these real quickly. We'll give a player from each team that is not a quarterback that we're watching this weekend. Let's start off in Kansas City. I will start off with the Chiefs. Chris Jones coming off the injury, expected to play. He has been such a big game player for them. We all know he's one of the top 10 best players in football, and he's one of the best defensive players in football, but he's made so many clutch plays for them. If this game is tight, I want to see how healthy he is, because there are a lot of moments where he steps up and makes big plays for the Chiefs in this postseason run, and probably nationally is a little underappreciated. And it was nice to see him on that top 100 list get a lot of praise because of the fact that, when we talk about Kansas City so much, all we do is talk about Mahomes, Andy Reid, and also Travis Kelce Swift. So I will go with Chris Jones.
All right, I will go with DeAndre Hopkins. Going against his former team, the Chiefs obviously need someone to give him a spark on the offensive side of the ball. So I like to see what Hopkins is going to bring to the table.
Houston Texans, I'm going Will Anderson Jr. The only time we have really seen Mahomes go down in the postseason is up against the Bucs, where there was a lot of pressure, and then the Bengals had a really good approach on him defensively too. I think Will Anderson Jr. along with Danielle Hunter, but I'll go more so Will Anderson Jr. He's got to be the best player on the field.
I'll go Joe Mixon. I think if the Texans want a chance to win, they're going to have to be able to run the ball, establish a run game. He's been good this year, so Joe Mixon for me is the guy.
And got banged up. I saw it was a late addition to that injury report, but the expectation is he going to play? That's a good one. All righty, let's go to Saturday evening. Commanders, I'm going with Terry McLaurin. You finally have a quarterback. You're here in the postseason. You got a touchdown last week. No one's going to give you a chance up against the Detroit Lions. He has to have a monster game. I'm going Terry McLaurin.
Cliff Kingsbury, for me, is the guy. He's going to have to kind of coach this offense and make sure Jaden Daniels limits mistakes and obviously puts up a lot of points as well.
Lions, I'm going Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he is one of the more entertaining players in the NFL. We all know he's a very good running back, but I don't think many people think about him right away as one of the more entertaining players in the league. I could see this being the start of a monster postseason run for him, especially if the Lions go as far as they hope to go this year, which is being the last team standing.
So for me, Amon-Ra St. Brown might be the best receiver that doesn't get talked about, like the top 5 or 6 receiver that doesn't get the praise that like a Jefferson or Chase gets. So for me, I think he's the guy. I'm very excited to see play.
You know who I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is starting to become? He is a better version of Keenan Allen. And what I mean by that is for 5, 6, 7 years, where you'd always used to say Keenan Allen's the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is better than Keenan Allen, but I think he has that tag of, for whatever the reasons are, when we get into the top 10, top 5 conversations, I think it's been more of a push this year with the Lions, but for some reason, people tend to leave him out of that. All righty, let's go to Sunday. You have the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Rams. I'm going with Jared Verse. Now, I said before the year Jared Verse was going to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He has a good chance to do that, but I have Jared Verse because of this quote that he gave to Gary Klein. I hate Eagles fans. They're so annoying. I hate Eagles fans. When I see that green and white, I hate it. I actually get upset. Like I actually genuinely get hot. So that is what Jared Verse said. I don't know why he hates the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know why he hates their fans. I thought this was a fake quote at first, but it turned out not to be. I'm just fascinated. Jared Verse, a heck of a player. Going back to Florida State, and he was at Albany before that. But now you're going up against the Eagles fans in Philadelphia. Hello. That's something that I'm very much looking forward to.
I will go Puka Nacua. I think they have to put up a lot of points. Obviously, him and Cooper Kupp are going to have to be very, very good, probably both of them. So I'll go with Puka.
Now, he was born Jared Verse, it says, in Dayton, Ohio, but he went to school in Pennsylvania. So I don't know if that's where maybe just getting thrown into Pennsylvania, which, Steelers fans, Eagles fans, if that's where his hatred for the Eagles did derive. Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going with A.J. Brown. I want to see if he has the book on the sideline once again this week. And we've seen these games where A.J. Brown doesn't get targeted a lot one week, and then they overemphasize on how many targets they're going to give him. So I'm looking forward to seeing what A.J. Brown does.
I'll go with Nick Sirianni. If the Eagles lose this game, there's a pretty good chance that Sirianni's going to be the reason they lose, and he's going to get the blame. So he's someone that could be very impactful on this game.
Okay, next one. Ravens, Bills. I'm going Derrick Henry. Now, these are non-quarterbacks. Derrick Henry, you could argue outside of Saquon Barkley, this season is the best non-quarterback in the NFL. I think that's pretty self-explanatory.
So I would go someone that may or may not play, Zay Flowers. Ooh. If he plays, he will have a big impact. If he doesn't play, they're going to miss him, especially against the Bills.
And even if he's not healthy, you could use him as a decoy too, if he's just out there. Buffalo. You used the coach for the Commanders, Cliff Kingsbury, Sean McDermott. Here you are again, big game, big spot. We have seen you have many blunders this year in the big games, in these big spots. You've done a really good job this year. Time to punch your ticket back to an AFC championship game, and then assuming if Kansas City wins, see if you could beat the Chiefs in the postseason. You beat them the 4 last times in the regular season.
And I'll go with Von Miller. He's not the Von Miller that he used to be, but he brings that veteran presence. He's healthy, so if he can make a play or two, that'll be very important for the Bills against Lamar Jackson. You
got it. All righty. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Moist Pork chiming in. Wow. Bart Winkler gaslit his parents about who he's named after. That's talent. 100%. Jake Dyer from Boise saying, tell the Ack man I love the sweatshirt. As Ack is, what is this, College Colors Day?
Boise State, baby.
You're wearing Boise State, I'm wearing Temple after my alma mater, baby. Beating a top 25 team in Memphis.
Huge win. Yeah, absolutely.
Penny Hardaway, take that, you bum.
Jamal Mashburn Jr. coming through for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's nice. Adam Fisher, good job.
And one of the assistants, Michael Huger from the Bronx, great guy.
And by the way, I do like Penny Hardaway. Just I got caught up in the emotions of,
of my team. I see it. You love the guy, but you know when he's playing against your sentimental choice, in your case, your alma mater, you
becomes Voldemort.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If you go back to the whole Harry Potter references. All righty, we'll do a little onside offside next. Ty Dunne will join us 20 minutes from now. Update time first. Here is Ashton Genty's second biggest fan, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
No Marge. This report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. The Titans move quickly to select their new GM, reportedly set to name Chiefs executive Mike Borgonzi, who had also interviewed with the Jets. He had been in Kansas City in a variety of roles since 2009. The Ravens' Zay Flowers is doubtful for Sunday after missing practice all week, but head coach John Harbaugh is holding out hope that he can play Sunday, leaving the door open. Of course, the NFL has a quartet of great playoff matchups this weekend, and it starts with Houston and the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium tomorrow, followed by the Commanders and the Lions in Detroit. Washington coming off the last-second victory in Tampa last week, its first playoff victory in 19 years. The Sixers will be without Joel Embiid for another 7 to 10 days because of increased swelling in his knee. He's already missed the last 6 games with a foot injury. South Carolina has made Dawn Staley the highest-paid coach in women's college basketball with a $25 million extension through 2030, and the Mets reportedly signed reliever A.J. Minter to a 2-year deal. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, onside, offside time. Just real quickly, let's shout out Alan Ellis on Twitter. We're talking about some of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the Super Bowl era. And, you know, I gave you my 4 greatest, and it was Brady 1, Montana 2, Mahomes 3, Peyton Manning 4. He said, hey, let's give some love to Terry Bradshaw in the top 10 as well. And he's right. It's like crazy. Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowl championships, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, a league MVP, and I feel like is not respected as much when we get into these conversations now of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I get it. He only had 2 more touchdowns than interceptions passing, but that's a name that through the years, I don't want to say it's been forgotten because we see him every Sunday and we know what he was able to do. But it is fascinating when we just read through a list on the Sporting News and they didn't even mention it. So anyway, Stu, what do we got?
All right, so after Sam Darnold's crash and burn the last 2 weeks of the season, including that ugly playoff loss, many believe that he has lost himself a ton of money in free agency. However, our friend James Palmer told Bleacher Report that may not be the case.
I talked to an executive in the AFC, an executive in the NFC yesterday, and they told me the same thing. There are too many quarterback-needy teams out there to have his market dramatically change even after these 2 games. They both told me probably the perception of his turnaround has been altered more than his market. And it's because there's more teams and there's fewer quarterbacks. There's really only about 2 quarterbacks at the top of this draft. There's several teams looking for quarterbacks. I'm told by both these guys he is still the belle of the ball, the top of the free agent market class. And then one of them told me it may not even be close. He's still just 27 years old.
So onsides, offsides, Darnold will get a massive contract over the $40 million a year that Kirk Cousins got.
I think for a week stretch after the Packers game, he elevated way past the Baker Mayfield conversation. I think he's fallen back into that Baker Mayfield conversation. He could still do a few more million than what Baker got, which was $33 million a year. But do I think he's getting 40 or more? No, like 36, 37, 38. I think is what Sam Darnold's going to get. So will Sam Darnold get a massive contract over the $40 million a year Kirk Cousins mark that he got? I'm going to go slightly offside on that.
Offside.
As we've discussed, Tom Brady reportedly has a major role in finding the Raiders' next GM and head coach, leading many to speculate that he won't be long in the Fox booth despite his 10-year contract. Now his agent Don Yee told the Sports Business Journal that Brady is having a blast at Fox and replied yes when asked if Brady plans to finish out the final 9 years of his deal. So onsides, offsides, Tom Brady will finish out his entire 10-year deal at Fox.
I'm going to go offside on that. I do believe that he'll be back next year. I don't know if he's going to get through all 10 years. Not that he's capable, but do you actually want to do this for 10 more years with all the other business opportunities that you do have? So I'm going to say offside on that one.
Offside.
A lot of money, though.
Speaking of Brady's and, of course, my Raiders, a new online odds maker put out the list of most likely destinations for Aaron Rodgers in 2025. The Saints come in fourth at 6-1.
Ugh.
The 49ers next at 4-1. The Steelers second at 3-1. And, of course, my Raiders topping the list at 2-1. Onsides, offsides, the Raiders are more likely landing spot for Rodgers than the Steelers are.
I'm going to go offside. I don't know if the Steelers would want Aaron. But if you're the Raiders, I think the Raiders are going to find a way to get a quarterback. I know Tennessee and Cleveland both need quarterbacks. I just still see Shedeur Sanders in a Raiders uniform. I don't know how they're going to find a way to get there, but they're from 6. Maybe the Browns aren't ready to take a quarterback now. But I'm going to say that when you say the Raiders more likely landing spot for Rodgers than the Steelers, I'm going to go offside. And also, isn't Devontae Adams now out? Like, if Rodgers wants to go play with Devontae Adams, is Devontae Adams going to walk back into the Raiders locker room? I know most of the people aren't there anymore and be like, hey, guys, what's up? You know, we're good. So, offside.
Offside.
All right, we know how you feel about playoff teams playing in the elements, and it appears that 2 games will feature major weather issues this weekend.
People, stop bitching about the weather.
In Buffalo, the temperatures expected to be under 20 degrees for Bills-Ravens, while Philly's weather is forecast is even more severe, with 4 to 5 inches of snow expected for the Rams and Eagles. Onsides, offsides, the severe weather will impact the road teams far more than the home teams.
Gelb on the road could be interesting this weekend because that snow's coming down right during the game, and I'm driving back to New York City, and I got an early flight Monday morning. Airlines, please. Weather gods, please. Don't screw up my flight to the national championship game early Monday morning. That's all I'm going to say. The question here is, the severe weather will impact the road teams far more than the home teams this weekend. Yeah, because the Rams are the road team playing in Philadelphia. Outside of that, I don't think any, like maybe the Texans get impacted in Kansas City if they have bad weather conditions. Lions playing a dome, and Bills and Ravens, those are both cold weather, even though I do think it benefits the Bills more than the Ravens because they're in front of the Bills fans. But yeah, I think it's the road teams more than the home teams that it impacts them. So I will say onsides on that one.
It was recently revealed that Barstool's Chicago superfan Big Cat, who's made his living as a diehard Bears fan, is apparently from Massachusetts and grew up a Boston sports fan before abandoning his hometown teams and started covering Chicago sports for Barstool. Onsides, offsides, it's never acceptable to abandon your hometown childhood sports teams.
This is the dumbest story ever. I have no problem with Big Cat, okay? The idea, though, that people are trashing him for leaving Boston sports teams to go to Chicago. And they were like his second favorite teams, right? His uncle's no longer with us. Really got him into Chicago sports, but he was both the New England and the Chicago sports fan. So he just never told anyone that he was a New England sports fan. I didn't know he's from Massachusetts. But this idea that you live somewhere else and you can't embrace those sports teams, it's dumb. Root for who you want to root for. People, they get so, oh, you got to root for this team. You got to root for that team. Oh, you're from here. How do you root for that team that plays over there? It's just so stupid. So it's never acceptable to abandon your hometown team that you root for as a child. Offside. Do what you want.
Offside.
And also, it made Big Cat a ton of money. So what? Saw a few championships, now wants to go torture himself with the Bears. Isn't that the punishment, really? That you got to go root for the Bears? At least you got a Cubs World Series championship. The Bulls will probably never win a championship again. But it's like, all right, the Blackhawks had their run. I don't know how big of a hockey fan Big Cat is, to be fair. But this idea that you can't ever switch teams if you move somewhere or you're trying to get a job somebody else, like, give me a break. Come on. Just stupid. And if you really have a complaint, worry about your own teams. Don't worry about other people's teams. I will say, Surviving Barstool had a lot of takes off that last night. Spoiler alert, if you're listening, Rhea won. I thought Rhea played the best game. The best moment was the pink wedding with Dave Portnoy. But at the end, I thought Megan making money, her speech was awesome. I would have voted for her. Rhea, I thought she won, so congratulations to her. She won $250,000. But the last two episodes, I thought she almost talked herself out of winning the money. Ty Dunne will join us next. If you had no clue what I just said the last 5 seconds, don't worry. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. We go out to the guest line right now, welcoming the founder of Go Long at golongtd.com, and that's one of our favorites, in Ty Dunne, kind enough to join us once again on the extravaganza. Ty, great to see you. How you been? Happy divisional round weekend to you.
The best sports weekend on the calendar, Zach. So an honor to be here with one of the GOATs. And I went to Syracuse, but I grew up near St. Bonaventure. So, seeing you in that Temple hoodie, I have memories of John Chaney taking a cookie, and the famous J.R. Bremer in the corner game. So we did have that on you, even though I didn't really go to Bonas.
How about that? I wasn't expecting to be talking Temple with you right out of the gate, but I am asking people to do so, wearing my Temple sweatshirt after Temple did defeat Memphis last night, a top 25 team, so take that, Penny Hardaway. Let me start you off with how we started the show today. We're talking about the Chiefs, and I'm saying Mahomes this year is obviously playing for 3 straight championships, which no quarterback has ever done in the Super Bowl era. And then also, I'm looking at the all-time great category. Right now, I have Brady 1, I have Montana 2, Mahomes at 3, and then Peyton Manning in at 4 out of the Super Bowl era quarterbacks. Mahomes wins another championship, or whenever he wins his next one, I think he clearly solidifies himself as the second greatest quarterback of all time, still chasing Brady. What do you think about that?
Hell yeah. I completely agree. I think he is right there with Tom Brady, probably a notch below, right? We got to look at the Vince Lombardi trophies. That's number 1. But, man, if he three-peats, if he gets through this AFC again, Arrowhead Invitational, all of that, I feel like we're sleeping on this team yet again. I don't know how we do it every year. I live here in Buffalo, and all we're thinking about is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Sean McDermott. Can he get over the hump? And there's Patrick Mahomes. He's got to love this, that he's had 2 weeks to rest. That whole roster's had 2 weeks to kind of refuel, and they're going to be ready to go. Mahomes is so much like those 2 players you just mentioned, Brady and Montana. You talk to people close to him, there's just a zillion stories, but one that pops to mind is he just rises to the moment. In every sport, it doesn't matter if he's throwing hatchets with his buddies at a bachelor party, if he's playing golf at Augusta with his friends, basketball back in high school. One of his best friends told me that after that Super Bowl loss to Tampa Bay, he was on the course, getting around in at Augusta, and he got the call that they were signing Orlando Brown. If you remember, he's running for his damn life against the Bucks. They needed help on the line, and there was something about that news. You know, he had a terrible shot into the rough, had to get it out, had to get it on the green, and had the chip of his life the second that he got the call from Brett Veach. Like that good news just kind of put him in the mental space to have the shot of his life on the golf course. He rises up to these moments. Until further notice, it's a Patrick Mahomes world, and we tend to forget that.
Can you see any way that the Texans find a way to walk into Arrowhead and take down the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend on divisional round weekend?
I mean, this is where we have to call it a bye week, and D'Amico Ryans uses this clip as motivation, right? Like Rex, of course, Rex would.
Where's
do
that Ty Dunne guy? He said we were done. Now your career is done. Texans go to the championship game. That would be pretty cool, I will say.
It's a fun team. I love the Texans. I mean, Will Anderson Jr. is one of the great personalities, one of the most violent players in the game that we don't talk nearly enough about. I just cannot see the Texans going into Kansas City and winning this game. I could be dead wrong. I hope I'm dead wrong, but no, I can't see that happening. I mean, the rest, you know, I think too often we kind of have that paralysis by analysis, and we think that rust is a real thing. Maybe it is from time to time, but look at Andy Reid's record out of bye weeks. When he has time to prepare, he's going to know your scheme better than you know your own scheme. And I feel like they're going to be ready for everything. And look, CJ Stroud just hasn't been the same quarterback this year. I think it's safe to say it's not really a scalding hot take at this point. I mean, Bryce Young has been better than CJ Stroud in year two. And I don't think it's close.
Wow. Even with Stroud still finding a way to win that division and still finding a way to win a playoff game, you would think Young, with what he did in the second half, is better than Stroud.
I think so. I mean, early on in his career as a rookie, Bryce Young, I feel like he was just stuck in a very elementary offense with Frank Reich. And yet at the same time, they asked him to set all kinds of protections and do a lot of stuff that rookie quarterbacks don't have on their plate. So it was like the worst of all worlds. He couldn't play free. He couldn't think free. So eventually they moved on from Frank Reich and they get a new coach in there. It starts ugly. He's got no talent around him whatsoever. I think once you kind of get another receiver, you start drafting some more talent. They're getting their picks back now. There's a lot to love about Bryce Young. I think it says more about Young and the fact that he's kind of finding who he was at Alabama more than an indictment on Stroud. And we didn't really know what is Bryce Young's special. Like what does he have inside to compensate for being a small quarterback? I'm not really sure what that is, but there's something about his rhythmic game. When he's feeling it, he can sense the rush as well as any young quarterback. You kind of saw it that last month of the season. Really a sneaky storyline we probably didn't talk enough about.
Talking to Ty Dunne right now, talking about a quarterback who's been young and sensational this year, Jaden Daniels. They get the playoff win last week off the field goal upright and in. Daniels has the Lions this upcoming weekend on Saturday in Detroit. I think that the Commanders could give him a fight for 3 quarters, but I do think that the Lions end up winning this game probably by 10 points. I feel as if this is a 30-20 type of game with Detroit taking it. Yourself?
I mean, I would love to just have a bold take and say the Commanders are going to waltz into Ford Field and take it to Dan Campbell, but I'd probably have to get drug tested by Roger Goodell. I mean, it's hard to see a Dan Campbell coach team having a letdown. I mean, my God, they get thumped by the Bills, 22 guys on IR. It looks like their season is falling apart. And not just like anybody on IR, by the way, not like scrub third string tight ends. You're talking Aiden Hutchinson would have been the defensive player of the year. Aleem McNeil, maybe the best defensive tackle in football. I mean, these are poison pills. They should have been. They should have been done after these injuries. And that's just the power of Dan Campbell. It doesn't matter who he throws in there, the quote unquote Northern Savages that he's picking up on the fly. You know, guys like Jamal Adams for a dozen snaps here and there. That culture is real. I will say this, though. Dan Quinn has really rebuilt those Commanders in the same vein. And I'm shocked. I think everybody's pretty shocked that Dan Quinn has been able to do it so quickly. But chatting with his assistant coaches a week ago, I mean, when those players first got in the building for phase one, you know, you think a first-year coach, he's ready to implement his offense, implement his defense, get talking X's and O's. He told his coaches, no football for 2 weeks. Just get to know the man, get to know these players as human beings so you can really connect on a deeper level. And all of those coaches, I mean, Darryl Tapp, Joe Witt Jr., Tavita Pritchard, they all say that when they kind of faced adversity, that 3-game losing streak in the middle of the season, those bonds were so strong that when everybody thought the Commanders were kind of regressing to who they were going to be all along, they knew they'd be fine. And I think that that's similar to what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit. The Commanders are built to last. I'm not sure if it's going to be a blowout. I think the Lions win. You just can't see them losing at home. But I think that Jane Daniels, Dan Quinn, everything that they've been building there, they give us a show, bare minimum.
If I were to text you tomorrow evening and I go, Ty, I can't believe that just happened, what do you think's more likely is the way that I'll say it? The Commanders beat the Lions or the Texans end up beating the Chiefs? What's more likely to you?
I think what's more likely is the Commanders winning. Like I said, not going to bet against Detroit. Jane Daniels is not a normal rookie. I mean, you saw him in that wild card game, fourth quarter, right? His first playoff game. Shouldn't he be jittery and shaken and nervous? And there he is just laughing on the sideline.
Especially
smiling.
How many times they got shut out. I know that they got a gift, but still on fourth down, he makes that throw. Man, that's moxie, that's guts.
And juxtapose Jaden Daniels' body language with like a Sam Darnold. Like even that first big completion to Justin Jefferson, it was like he was skittish, kind of patting the ball, a little unsure. Look, everybody knows this is where legacies are defined. I mean, what you do in these games matters 100 times more than anything you did against the Titans in September. So there are quarterbacks who are going to rise to that moment. Mahomes is in his own category. I think that Jane Daniels has some of that special stuff in him. And that maybe we're not talking about it like a Patrick Mahomes, but he's going to be in that category of dudes who are totally unshaken by the pressure that you face in these football games.
I can't wait to see Ty Dunne, and I'm going to the game, how Rams and Eagles will play out. The Rams before the year were my pick to win the Super Bowl. With after their first month and a half of the season, I didn't think that was likely. We know Philly has so much talent, but the Rams and the weather is a concern. But still, you got McVay, you got Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. And that defense, it's not easy to replace Aaron Donald, obvious statement of the day. But they have drafted a few guys through the last few years that they're playing really well as a unit. What do you think gives here between the Eagles and the Rams?
I love that last point that you made, Zach. I mean, you give this scouting department some picks, and they've been nailing them. I mean, across the whole D-line, it's impressive. I mean, what else can you say? This team has shown that they can microwave a Super Bowl winner like that in the snap of a finger, trading for, Von Miller and Odell Beckham and the Stafford trade before that. And that now they've kind of replenished the roster. They had one bad year in there to kind of reset. But once they got their picks back, beefing up that defensive line to not miss a beat when you lose one of the greatest defensive players in the history of the sport. We don't talk enough about these scouting staffs, and you just hope those guys in the LA Rams, they get some promotions or a bonus, at least Jelly of the Month Club or something, because they're loaded up front. And I like the Rams in this game, wherever they play, in a dome, on the grass, in the snow, in the cold. I don't care. I feel like that defense is going to keep them in games. And Matthew Stafford, yeah, they kind of petered out toward the end of the year offensively. It seems like he is rising up to who he was in that Super Bowl run. I mean, he throws the prettiest football in the sport. And when he's on with McVay, they can be unstoppable. You saw it against the Bills. I mean, Puka Nacua is a star. Cooper Kupp is still doing his thing. And I think that Matthew Stafford is another one of those players that we're probably not thinking about enough, not talking about enough, as one of the best of this generation.
It's a fascinating conversation because I said this the other day. When Stafford won the Super Bowl up against the Bengals, we started this Hall of Fame conversation. I said, he's still got to go another 3-4 years, and he's got to give you another moment. Now, I don't got another championship, but this is his chance to have that other moment. You go on the road in Philadelphia a lot of people have the Eagles advancing to the next round. This would be a really impressive moment for Stafford to kind of, maybe even solidify that Hall of Fame spot.
I'm with you, Zach. I kind of felt the same way. We're always in a rush to just dive into those takes after a Super Bowl win, and the Stafford Hall of Fame stuff was all over the place, but you kind of had to see more out of him. And then they win 5 games, and they're going through those, just a rough spell, kind of breaking in some young talent. The fact that they kind of have this this next chapter, this new window opening up, and they're winning. If he goes into Philly and wins that game, gets to an NFC Championship game, man, can you imagine Matthew Stafford going back to Ford Field for an NFC Championship game? I mean, we all want a good story. That's it, okay? And we're getting ahead of ourselves. Hey, love Dan Campbell, love the Lions. I think they get to the Super Bowl. I think they win it all. If Matthew Stafford goes into Detroit and wins, now we have that Hall of Fame conversation, without a doubt.
All righty, let's get to Bills and Ravens. Who is there more pressure on? That's the toughest question I think I've ever asked. Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson?
Sean McDermott. Can I go with choice number 3? I don't know if that's a cop-out. It may be. Look, I mean, Sean, what he did to clean up the mess that Rex Ryan left behind and the 17-year playoff drought, they've won 5 divisions in a row, is remarkable. I feel like that building, that culture, it kind of runs itself at this point. And you talk to people who have been in that building. I remember I talked to you a year ago about this all. Players, coaches, they sensed a tight coach creating a tight team, and that's how you get 13 seconds. That's how you get the snow globe loss to Cincinnati, and even last year against Kansas City at home. Look, I was around the team all week. This is a loose bunch. I feel like Sean McDermott has gone out of his way to kind of take a step back and get these guys to not believe that they can win, but believe that they should win. But believe, you're going to go out there and make the play. 4th and 2 against the Chiefs at home. You go for it. Steve Spagnuolo has the perfect call. It doesn't matter. Josh Allen mashes all the buttons and runs in for a touchdown. I mean, those kind of moments have been just breakthrough seminal moments for this head coach all season long. He has chosen to believe in his players. They've backed him up. And, I just chatted with Dawson Knox, and he kind of admitted that, in some of these playoff games past, it wasn't this loose. They are trying to treat this like any other game, which is hard to do. Easier said than done. But it feels like they're in a good mental space going into this game against the Ravens. So we'll see what it all means, right? I mean, if Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry just roll all over this defense, then it's a much different conversation on Monday. But I do think the pressure's on the head coach in Buffalo.
Ty Dunne, before we let you run, I want to give you a few quick hitters. I'm going to give you the topic. You tell me what you think's going to happen with them this offseason. Aaron Rodgers, is he playing football? Is he back on the Jets, or is he somewhere else?
Aaron Rodgers ain't going to leave that money on the table. I will be floored if he retires. There's going to be a market. You look at the draft, at least who you listen to that studies these guys. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of options for you if you're looking to restart at the quarterback position. Free agency, there never really is. Yeah, I think that somebody out there pays Aaron Rodgers and he starts week 1. Is it Pittsburgh? I'd just be guessing. But yeah, I think he continues to play.
Do you think Davante Adams definitely follows Rodgers and gets traded somewhere where Rodgers goes? Or do you kind of look at it as maybe Davante Adams winds back up in Green Bay where he never should have left?
I think Davante Adams wises up and realizes, you still have a little juice. We saw it late last season. I read that, was it the Jacksonville game? I mean, there are a lot of moments Davante Adams proved he can still play. You got to look out for yourself, Davante. I know you're friends with Aaron, and you guys had a lot of moments, but that was 5 years ago. You got to get with a young quarterback. A guy like Jordan Love would be perfect for him. The Packers could use Davante Adams. I feel like it's almost too good to be true. You got a lot of young receivers, a lot of B-plus players. You need an A-level talent. I feel like Davante Adams still has one really good year in him, and that, yes, he does kind of somehow, it's becoming the NBA where we don't even need to look at contracts anymore, right? These players can kind of will themselves into certain situations. I would think Davante Adams is smart enough to know Aaron Rodgers is on the decline. Get with a better quarterback.
Let's go to the most interesting man in football, Ben Johnson. Phenomenal play caller. Outside of that, we really know nothing else about him. We all thought he'd be the Commanders coach last year. Nope, back to Detroit. 1 week we have him going to Chicago. The next week we have him going down to Jacksonville. The other week we have him going out to Sin City with the Raiders. Where is Ben Johnson coaching in 2025?
I've appreciated your original takes on this subject too, Zach. It's different than what's out there. I do like Ben Johnson as, can we just say tone setter or something other than leader of men? I feel like we've been saying leader of men ad nauseum. Whatever that is, I think that he has that in him. in addition to being an innovator and a play designer and a play caller. To me, he checks every conceivable box. And spending some time around those Lions, and chatting with, David Blau, who's actually an assistant coach with the Commanders now. He played for Ben Johnson, Detroit. He said that, look, this is a coach who can step in front of a room, speak to everybody. And if you're around Dan Campbell every day, how could you not have some of that in you by osmosis? So where does he go? I would just be guessing like everybody else, but I feel like it's the team and the owner that has to do the selling to Ben Johnson. It's not the other way around. If the Chicago Bears can convince Ben Johnson that the structure's in place, he's going to want some say. And I feel like he should. You might only get one opportunity at this. If they're willing to give him some control, that just seems to make all the sense in the world. You get him with Caleb Williams. I would love to see that.
That's why I don't think it's going to be Chicago, because Ryan Poles is there. Like, at least Shad Khan said, hey, if the new coach gives a compelling argument, I'll get rid of Trent Baalke. And then Brady's no dummy. Hey, Tom Telesco, you're out. We're putting lipstick on a pig to try to make us look a little bit more attractive. I think it's going to be the Raiders or the Jaguars. I really do.
Yeah, it's probably I'm a hopeless romantic. It's probably more of a hope thing. Like, you want to just see the Chicago Bears do the smart thing here and say, okay, like, these arranged marriages don't work. They don't. Usually these team presidents, you just drop into the pot. Like, it just kind of makes everything worse. You're probably right. He probably goes to the Raiders or the Jags. Trent Baalke, there's that factor, but he's going to go somewhere where he's got control. And you know what? I know there's a lot of criticism levied Ben Johnson's way. I think he has every right to have a list of demands because he has earned it. The Lions are the best team in football, and he's a big reason for that.
All righty, last thing I'll ask you, Ty Dunne. Sam Darnold. Minnesota, is he back? Is he somewhere else? And if so, what's your best educated guess on this one right now?
Stunned to see where Sam Darnold's career went those final 2 weeks. If you were to ask me this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I'd say, yeah, the Vikings have to pay him, whatever that is, $40 million a year, $45 million a year. I mean, he's off of that big win over Green Bay. They're hoisting him up his shoulders and spreading the bubbly, all that stuff in the locker room, that amazing scene. You have to weigh those two final games and move on from Sam Darnold and stick with the original plan, which was J.J. McCarthy. So J.J. McCarthy had this year to sit and wait and learn, and he looked really good. Everybody I talked to in Minnesota said, look, at the jump from OTAs to that second week of training camp was substantial. If he can improve that much over a dead period in the NFL calendar, I can't imagine what he would do with coaching up throughout an entire training camp. I think you have to rip the Band-Aid off, go to J.J. McCarthy. Where does Sam Darnold go? I have no clue what his market's going to be. I think supply and demand will be at play. Somebody's going to pay him. Maybe it is a Baker Mayfield kind of deal. Maybe a coach like Brian Dable in New York says, you know what? I don't want to gamble on, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, whoever they might get at 3. Who knows if you even have the opportunity to get a guy at 3. Here in Buffalo, seeing what Dable did with Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen has proven himself to be, special in his own right, but it's easy to forget how raw he was out of Wyoming. And as a rookie, even into year 2. And I think what Brian Dable did with Josh Allen is the reason he got that job. What Joe Shane did in discovering Josh Allen and valuing him and drafting him over Josh Rosen with Brandon Beane is how he got the job. They deserve the right to kind of find their guy. I'm glad they kept their jobs. Is Darnold their guy? I don't know. But, I feel like he could be the coach that squeezes some more out of Sam Darnold.
I lied to you. I got one final question. So earlier I asked you, hey, who is there more pressure on? Is it Josh Allen or is it Lamar Jackson? And you responded, it was Sean McDermott. 0 to 100%. 0, no chance. 100, definitely going to happen. If they lose this game in the playoffs again because of coaching, and maybe McDermott has his Sam Darnold moment where he's got praised all through the season, and then it just goes right down the drain here in the playoffs. But what are the chances that the Bills would finally move off of Sean McDermott?
It would be minuscule, Zach. Maybe 2, right? Just barely above 0 for the simple fact that, pressure justifiably would build, as it should. You rarely ever see coaches get to year 7 and 8 without winning a Super Bowl and then win it. I think there's like 5 in history who have done it. So that's why we're talking about Sean McDermott in these terms. But they have a well-oiled machine of an organization. He's a big reason for that. And then all you have to do is look over to the hockey team here in Buffalo. They're in last place. Their GM has been in place for 5 years, and Terry Pegula has not moved off of that. I would be stunned if he messes with the football operation, regardless of how Sunday goes. But I tell you what, at the local coffee shop, you go to Spot Coffee in Hamburg Monday morning off of a Bills loss, and it would be very interesting to hear what fans have to say.
Make sure you check him out, golongtd.com. I am a subscriber. It is unbelievable. Some of the best football coverage around. He is Ty Dunne. Ty, thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Really appreciate the kind words, man. Always enjoy it.
Yep, you're the best. There he is, Ty Dunne. Always appreciate the way that he views football. We'll take a break. When we come on back, the Cowboys. We got a little information about what happened with Mike McCarthy. We'll spill the tea for you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. We'll give you a quick Cowboys pop right here. Let's go to Diana Rossini. She was on the Scoop City podcast, and she gave this little scoop when it came to the Cowboys' thought process, which they're search right now, and could Deion Sanders actually wind up there?
There's definitely a camp that I'm talking to that's like, this is not real. This is not real. They talked.
Really?
This is all flirting. This is all... Jerry was not expecting Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys to go separate ways. The plan was to bring him back. They did not have a plan in place here. So a lot of this was scrambling, from what I can gather, of just, I need to figure out how to fix this quickly.
Wow.
So that's the fascinating part. We didn't find anything new in terms of Deion Sanders, right? You either think he's going to be the coach or you don't. They've had a conversation. We knew that on Monday night when Schefter got on to ESPN. But I had that theory going back to last week when we discussed about Mike McCarthy's future. And I said, all right, McCarthy got denied by the Cowboys to talk to the Bears. It doesn't mean that McCarthy is definitely going to be back because Mike could want out. And he could go interview on Tuesday of what would have been this week with the contract expiring before we found out that the Cowboys wanted to overtake the final wild card game and get in front of the cameras and basically be a bunch of publicity whores, which they always are. And the Cowboys then made it official then where Mike was free to talk to whoever. And you know that he has talked to the Bears, right? And also the Saints are in the mix as well. But that information at the end by Diana Rossini, that Jerry Jones wasn't expecting this, it shows you the arrogance by the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. Because they thought, because of the brand that is the Dallas Cowboys, that they could do whatever they want to Mike McCarthy. And Mike was just going to say, yep, get me the campfire, get me the milk and cookies, and Jerry Jones, I'm coming over your house, and we're going to have a good sleepover. We're going to have a little slumber party. Get the footy pajamas out. We're going to have a good time. That's pretty much what Jerry Jones thought was going to happen when it comes to Mike McCarthy. But Mike McCarthy had a backbone because I'm sure Mike McCarthy was eventually offered an extension. You know, I'm sure they talked about that, even if you hear there wasn't a lot of contract talks. I'm sure Jerry Jones was like, oh, we'll give you a 2-year extension. And Mike McCarthy looked at it and said, hey, I can go in the open market. I may not get a job, but if I do get a job and he feels confident that he will get a job, that he's probably going to get a 4 or 5 year contract. And you don't have to deal, even though he's done a good job, him and Dak Prescott pretty much being numb and immune to all the nonsense that Jerry Jones spews. But you had a situation where Mike McCarthy was like, I could go somewhere else and have less stress. Even if you go to Chicago. Like, hey, the Bears are going to look at you as someone that needs to fix Caleb Williams, but it is a very stressful job. Now, I'd do it for the money that Mike McCarthy makes, to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And McCarthy felt disrespected, and he basically, I think, told Dallas to go pound sand. And I respect Mike McCarthy for that because the Cowboys only wanted you back on their terms. And they were naive enough to just think that the Cowboys brand, even though it's worth billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, it is still not the way that the Cowboys view it, as that everyone's dying to represent the star and to rock the star. And if you don't do things a certain way with the coach, say what you want about him, has won a Super Bowl in your building, won a Super Bowl a whole lot recently than you've ever either been to a Super Bowl or have won a Super Bowl, he has negotiating power. He has leverage. And he's betting on himself and saying, I'll go elsewhere, and now we'll leave you scrambling. So a lot of people are now on this sloppy Cowboys search already, where now they're starting to see things that I've said for years, that the Cowboys don't care about wins and losses. They care about the most drama. And the biggest problem with the Cowboys is Jerry Jones calls every shot. Every single shot. No decision is made in that organization. I know Will McClay is very good. I know you got Stephen Jones, but no decision is made without Jerry Jones having his fingerprints on it. And look at what we already had in this search. McCarthy gone. Deion Sanders' name's thrown out there. That's to get a bunch of attention. You also have Kellen Moore, who would be the ultimate puppet coach, would be very much like Jason Garrett for Jerry Jones. And then also, this was Nick Harris joining us the other day on Wednesday, right here on the Zach Gelb Show extravaganza. And just listen to, remember, the Cowboys don't have a coach yet. They don't have a head coach. In most organizations, you employ the head coach, and the head coach picks his staff. Is there some overlap, right? Like the GM suggests someone, the owner suggests someone, sure. But for the most part, the head coach gets to pick his staff. Listen to this minute exchange with Nick Harris, and you hear a bunch of names, at least two positions on the staff, regardless of who the head coach is, that Nick Harris is confident will be fulfilled. Jason Witten, that name has also emerged. They're not going to hire him as the next head coach, right?
No, I don't believe so. But it would surprise me if he's not on staff. It is a widespread expectation that he is going to be on staff in some capacity. Now, Jerry, he does these weekly radio hits twice a week, and there's a lot of things that are discussed in those. And it definitely makes my job unique as far as, covering an NFL team. But in those many, many interviews, he's been asked about Dan Campbell a few times. And every time Dan Campbell is brought up, almost every time, Jason Witten is brought up by Jerry, and in a sense that he would like to replicate that with Jason Witten potentially one day. He's called Jason Witten a guy that he thinks would be a great NFL head coach. He's won back-to-back state championships here at the Texas high school level. And now it's the private school level, but still a tough thing to do here in the state of Texas. He's done a really good job building that program, but the NFL is obviously a much different beast. And it's going to be interesting how Witten factors into those conversations. I think two other guys you could potentially look at, former players that could potentially be on a staff that the Joneses would like. You have Texas running backs coach Tashard Choice and Oklahoma running backs coach DeMarco Murray. One of those two guys, I think, will end up being your running backs coach in 2025.
So think about that. We don't even have the head coach yet in Dallas. And whoever this head coach is, according to Nick Harris, is probably going to have to put Jason Witten on the staff, where Jerry Jones is crazy enough in a few years to make Jason Witten the replacement for the guy that they're hiring. And also, running back coach-wise, we already have two names. Let me tell you something. I have never heard of a head coaching search where the head coach isn't picked, and we've already been told, according to Nick Harris, who covers the team and used to work for the team. He used to be a writer at Cowboys.com, and now he's with the Star Telegram, and he's already giving us two specific names, Tashard Choice or DeMarco Murray, to be the running backs coach. We already have two coaches on the staff, one of the running back coach, and then Jason Witten in some capacity, and we don't even know who's all the people getting interviewed. This is surreal. This is crazy, but it's the Jerry Jones way. And I would say, Stu, it's surprising, but nothing that happens with the Cowboys anymore is, you know what? They could name Samter the next head coach, and I would not be surprised because Jerry Jones is that bleeping crazy. He really is. So any name that's thrown out there, I will not dismiss it. I will not dismiss it because this is why the Cowboys are the Cowboys. Because you don't empower the football people that you hire. You're all a bunch of puppets. And Jerry Jones is sitting there with the strings, and he's controlling the entire organization. And that's what's happening. Like, how do you get a good candidate here? Imagine they sit down Ben Johnson. Oh, Ben's all about alignment. Hey, Ben, we need you to have Jason Witten as the tight ends coach, and we need either Tashard Choice or DeMarco Murray to be the running backs coach. Yeah, the rest of the staff you can pick. But we need, 2 of those 3 guys on staff. Just ridiculous. Take a break. Come on back. We'll update some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. We will do a news brief next. But first, before we get to act, it is time to ask the pros. You, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INFSportsNet or at Zach Gelb. Using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, the Titans have found their new general manager and hope that he brings his success from Kansas City, as Chiefs executive Mike Borgonzi will reportedly fill the role he had been in KC since 2009 in a variety of roles. 8 teams are left standing in the NFL. Ultimately, 2 will advance to New Orleans. The Chiefs hoping to be there again, trying to complete the first ever three-peat. They host the Texans tomorrow afternoon. Andy Reid remembers a previous playoff matchup between these two when Houston jumped out to a 24-0 lead, only to see the Chiefs rally for a 51-31 victory. And the future Hall of Fame coach hoping to avoid mistakes early tomorrow.
Error margin is tiny, and so you got to make sure that you play well, coach well, the whole works, which is great. I mean, we're in this to challenge ourselves, and no better time than now.
The Lions are the top seed in the NFC and host the Commanders. Detroit will have both David Montgomery and Terrion Arnold. The Ravens' Zay Flowers missed practice all week long. He is listed as doubtful. Head coach John Harbaugh, though, hoping to keep the door open on a possible return. The Sixers' Joel Embiid will miss at least a week to 10 days because of inflammation in his knee. The Mets have come to terms with reliever A.J. Minter on a 2-year deal. Jose Leclerc gets 1 from the A's. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, news brief time. Let's get it going. You know, who knows how much Carson Beck got paid to go be the quarterback at Miami, but it's rumored to be a lot. Here is Travis Hunter on his show, The Travis Hunter Show, saying he can't believe how much Carson Beck is making in NIL.
How do you get $10 million? Where's my $10 million?
Right. Shoot, you need 40.
How's all these people getting this much money, bro? Hold on, let me go test it out, bro. I'm finna go test it out, bro. Let me go back to college. I'm going back to college, bro. Let me see if I can get me $100 million. Let me see if I can go back and, you know, win another Heisman. And because $10 million, I ain't make that in college.
They say.
Yeah, let me go hit the portal right quick, bro.
Bring it back.
Bro, $10 million? Bro, that's a lot of money. I saved my money and they ain't even got $10 million in my bank account.
So two things. Number one, Travis Hunter, you need to stay in the draft. Here's why. You're going to be a top 3 pick. Patriots have the 4th pick. So selfishly, when I look at that whole thing, if he was able to go back to college, then you have the 2 quarterbacks going 1-2, and then the Giants or whatever, the 3rd pick can go snatch up Abdul Carter. And I think the Patriots should get Abdul Carter. The other part here is we had Danny Cannell on the other day. And I've been told, too, before from people in the college world, and Danny basically reiterated as well, no one knows what's true with these numbers. So look at Travis Hunter, who we know made a good amount of money in college from NIL, and he's even saying he wasn't able to make $10 million. So how is Carson Beck able to make $10 million? So I don't think the numbers out there are necessarily true when it comes to Carson Beck. Let's go to Aaron Rodgers. He was on the Pat McAfee show, and this is Aaron Rodgers on his future with the Jets.
I think everybody understands that it's going to come down to a GM and a coach and myself and whether we all want to do a dance together or if it's not in the cards.
Stu, I could look into this many ways. So that's the right answer by Aaron Rodgers, right? Whether you want to come back or not, right now you delay, you keep the intrigue out there, you say it's up to the GM and the head coach. Is it really up to the GM or head coach? Because it's really up to Woody Johnson and Aaron Rodgers. Those are the two most important people there. The GM and head coach could say, we want Aaron Rodgers back. If Woody Johnson says, not on my watch, well, Woody Johnson's going to get his way. He's the owner of the damn team. Now, the new head coach and the new GM could also say, hey, Aaron, we want you back. We got approval from Woody Johnson. And Aaron Rodgers still may not want to come back. So I heard what Ty said earlier, Ty Dunne, when he joined us. He thinks Rodgers is playing somewhere. He just doesn't know where. I'm kind of at the point, Stu. I'm good if Rodgers retires. I am officially Aaron Rodgers out. And if he is going to leave the Jets, which I think is going to happen, where are you going? You going to the Raiders? PU. You won't make the playoffs there. You going to the Steelers? All right, you can make the postseason, at least have a good finish to your career if you just make the postseason. At least you make the playoffs. But is Mike Tomlin and company going to be interested? You know, you're going to go be a mentor because you love to do that for a year in Tennessee and whoever they draft with Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. Come on. Give me a break. You want to go to Cleveland? You know, I like Cleveland. You want to end your football career, Aaron Rodgers, in Cleveland? I don't think so. That's why, Stu, I'm at this point. Just retire. I've nothing against Aaron. I just had enough with the daily Aaron Rodgers conversations that, trust me, we have had to have a lot of throughout the years.
Unless he hangs around into training camp and maybe someone gets hurt. Not wishing injury on anyone, but maybe that's his best shot at being on a team next year.
You know what? I have a bold take. Bold take. Minnesota. Follow the Brett Favre playbook. Hey, McCarthy kid. Sit on the bench for a year. I'll come walking into Minnesota with my Wrangler jeans. We'll see how that goes. Let's go to Roger Goodell. Could the NFL move to 18 games?
I think if we continue to focus on the safety, I think 18 is a potential. And as you know, we would take a preseason game away. So we would keep within that 20-game framework. We actually started at 14 and 6 preseasons. We went to 16 and 4, and now 17 and 3. So 18 and 2 is a logical step, but we would only do that with the players.
Bloomberg News, courtesy of that. Roger Goodell, you money whore. You big, fat, greedy pig. Seriously. And I love how they try to make it as if it's safe. Oh, well, we're cutting away a preseason game, and we're just adding on to the regular. No one gives a rat's ass about the preseason anymore. Most of these players don't even play. And your product this year in the regular season has been bad. It's been sloppy. So let's take away more from the preseason. Let's take away and limit contact in the offseason, and let's add a regular season game. The NFL is a cash cow. I understand they'll do anything to get more money. But in this case, you don't need to do it. Now, I'll still watch. I'll still be a sucker. But has your regular season product been better since going to an extra game? Has your postseason product, has Wild Card Weekend, they don't even call it Super Wild Card Weekend anymore because they know it's not super. Has that been phenomenal since adding an extra wild card team? No, it hasn't. All the games last week were boring. They were blowouts. So stop tinkering with the system. We don't need to add an extra regular season game. And if someone is going to debate in a few years, oh, let's add an eight playoff teams in the AFC and the NFC. Why? You want to become the NBA, where everyone basically gets into the postseason? It's a participation trophy, and the regular season is crap. So just stop. Keep it how it is. You've already done enough. All righty, let's get to Max Crosby, who's on Good Morning Football via the NFL Network. His thoughts on the possibility of Coach Prime to Stu's Raiders?
On a personal level, I've known Deion, Coach Prime, for a long time. My brother actually was roommates with his son, Bucky, Deion Jr., so they go way back. So Deion's whole family, I remember seeing Shedeur when he was a little kid. I was at their house in Texas.
Really?
People don't know that. I've known them for forever. So I'm really close to Shedeur, Deion Jr., his whole family. So they're great people. So, yeah, I mean, if Deion Sanders was my coach. How could I be mad?
All righty, Stu, you in? Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, silver and black.
Sure. My first choice is Ben Johnson, but I think they could do far worse than Deion Sanders.
If you had to give me 5 picks for the Raiders, 5 guys you want to get the job, who would your 5 guys be?
Ben Johnson.
Now I'm craving a hamburger, by the way.
Ben Johnson, Coach Prime, Pete Carroll for sure. The list after that gets kind of...
That's where you just want to cut it.
Yeah, I guess Liam Cohen maybe. Flores would be okay. I'd be fine with him.
So
Flores, then Cohen.
Liam Cohen, Ben Johnson, Coach Prime, Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
You know what? You could do Jerry Jones's job. You could. You could go to the Cowboys and you could do this search and probably do this search better than Jerry Jones. And you wouldn't say, hey, Coach Prime, we got to put Jason Witten on your staff, or DeMarco Murray or Tashard Choice. Come on. What are we doing?
Darren McFadden is the running backs coach.
No. I need Temple Bethel Johnson as my special teams coordinator. Okay? Let's make sure we get that happening. Ay. Crazy. Yeah, it was a great Chris Berman one. Bethel Johnson. He was like, Temple Bethel Johnson. I always love that with Berman. All righty, we'll take a break. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, who is there more pressure on this weekend? Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? And don't be one of those dopes that go, oh, it's both. We're asking you to pick one. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. And also, Andrew Perloff picks coming up 25 minutes from now.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Away we go, hour number 3 of our radio program, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. We will get to Andrew Perloff coming up 20 minutes from now for some picks. This is just the way I am. I'll get into this Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson conversation in just a second. I'm annoyed by something that I just saw on Twitter. Really annoyed. So John Clark, who does a great job covering Philadelphia sports for 20-something, 30-something years, he just tweeted out a photo of A.J. Brown, and A.J. Brown is with Jim Murphy. Now, you may be like, who the heck is Jim Murphy? A.J. Brown met with Jim Murphy, the author of the book Inner Excellence, today at the Eagles NovaCare Complex for an interview with ESPN Sal Paolantonio. Now, I don't know where Jim Murphy's from, but he is in a Kelly Green Eagles sweatshirt. So if that's what A.J. Brown needs to do, be on a sideline in a playoff game, and I know he's done it throughout the year, reading a book, if that calms him down, whatever. We've moved past that. But I don't know why, and I know this guy is a well-respected reporter. Sal Paolantonio recently has just annoyed me. And we are going to get cheesy TV here where A.J. Brown and Jim Murphy, it is going to be a projectile vomit interview where it's going to make me sick when I watch this. And I don't know why. I think this is why Sal Pal annoys me now. And, I shouldn't be annoyed by Sal Pal, but I am. When I was in Philadelphia, living in Philadelphia, and, that's an established guy, Sal Paolantonio, right? Established reporter, credible reporter. I started to realize he would always be like, I texted with Doug Peterson, the morning of the game. And Doug told me, I told the team last night in our team meeting, play tough, play with energy, play with emotion, and do what you're capable of. What kind of report is that? I've always laughed at the Sal Paolantonio reporting. I texted Nick Sirianni. Block out the noise and just focus on the task at hand. It's always something that's so generic. And you think you're getting this big exclusive because you text Doug Peterson and you text Nick Sirianni. But, I know a cheesy interview, especially a cheesy TV interview, and I could see it from 4,000 miles away. And this will be the definite, I don't even need to watch it. I don't even need to see it. I don't even need to listen to it. I don't even need to know anything else that's going on besides Sal Palantonio, A.J. Brown, and Jim Murphy, who is the author of Inner Excellence. This will be your snooze fest, cheesy kind of TV interview. Oh, it's going to be boring. It's going to be insufferable. So that's where I'm at right now. I didn't think I'd spend the first 3 minutes of our 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time hour on divisional round weekend talking about Sal Palantonio. But the last few years, I've had enough of Sal Palantonio. And he's like a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. Nice guy. Never had an issue with him outside of the last few years. I hear his reports, and you expect inside information out of Sal Pal, and it's the farthest thing from the truth. All righty. This is a difficult question. Who is there more pressure on this weekend? Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? Let's lay out the road for both. Lamar Jackson last year, number 1 overall seed, was at home, lost in an AFC championship game, is a 2-time MVP award winner, and doesn't have that signature postseason moment yet. There is not a moment so far in Lamar Jackson's postseason career where you go, man, that's a positive for Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen, on the other hand, no MVPs, could win the MVP this year, has made it just like Lamar before to an AFC championship game. And a lot of times when they lose, he plays well. Where you look at Kansas City last year, Bass missed the kick, right? You had a blocking issue where he had to throw the ball high. Stephon Diggs dropping that 80-yard bazooka arm of Allen where he threw the football. I still don't know how he did that down the right sideline, and Stephon Diggs dropped it. But, it's everyone else's problem in Buffalo besides Stephon Diggs. Catch the damn ball, right? So you look at both these players. 2 of the top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Allen, whatever order you want, right? Mahomes will be 1, and then you figure out who 2, 3, 4 is. But Josh Allen this year, you could say where expectations were before the start of the season has already exceeded expectations. There was legitimate doubt if Josh Allen was going to win the AFC East this year. Miami, no problem. Jets, no problem. Patriots, not a good team, obviously. So you look at the Lamar Jackson angle, too. I go back to where we were before the start of the season. I don't think people were glowingly talking about the Ravens. Yeah, sure, you went into this year, 3 teams to get to a Super Bowl. I think most people would say Kansas City is clearly one. Then after that, you got to consider the Ravens. You even still, with all the change they had, you have to consider the Bills. Some people had the Texans. I remember the Texans being a little bit of a pick for some people. But for most, it was really Kansas City and everybody else. But I take you back to this time last year, right around when the Ravens lost in the AFC Championship game. What did a lot of us say? No reason to believe in Lamar and the Ravens again when they get into the postseason. But the Ravens got Derrick Henry. And when the Ravens got Derrick Henry, that kind of lit a spark, back up and kind of thought that, okay, this is a Ravens team. How do you stop them in the red zone when you got not only Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, if he's healthy, though, Zay Flowers, and you also have Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, just have so many athletic weapons down inside the 20, down inside the red zone. And both these teams this year, they've done a really good job in restoring confidence back that, okay, maybe they could win. But whoever wins this game in all likelihood goes to Kansas City next week, unless you think the Texans pull off the upset. And you will exhale for a second on Sunday night, but then it's right away going into Kansas City. Because, hey, the Ravens in week 1, they almost beat the Chiefs. All right? They did a really good job in that game. And the Bills, they beat the Chiefs this year, but they beat the Chiefs for the last 4 years. So when I'm answering this question, who is there more pressure on? Is it Lamar Jackson or is it Josh Allen? I think most people are just looking individually. Like, hey, is it just Josh or is it just Lamar? But I think the environment that Josh Allen is in, it's actually Josh Allen. You are home. I know you are the underdog technically in the sports book, but look at the weapons you have around you. Like if Josh Allen isn't on his A game, do I think that James Cook, Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, Khalil Shakir, do I think those guys are good enough to bail Josh Allen out? I don't. Lamar Jackson could have a B game. Like he can't have a C game. But he could have a B game, and if Derrick Henry has an A game, have fun being a defender on the Buffalo Bills trying to tackle him. So, yes, I know that if Lamar loses this game, right, what are we going to say about Lamar Jackson? Another great season, regular season quarterback, postseason time, not so much, right? That's what's going to be said about Lamar Jackson. You know, it kind of reminds me a lot like how we talked about Peyton Manning early on in his career. You know, one of the best regular season quarterbacks ever, then postseason time didn't work. And can Lamar eventually win a Super Bowl in this league? Yes. I find it comical. And it's amazing how impatient we are and how reactionary we are. You would think Lamar Jackson's 35 by how confidently people say he can't win a Super Bowl. He's 28. Like, look how long it took John Elway to hoist that Lombardi trophy. Like, Lamar Jackson is only 28 years old. And he just turned 28 10 days ago. So this idea that Lamar can never win a Super Bowl, it's ludicrous to me. But I do think that if Lamar doesn't get the job done, like unless if it's a classic 35-31 type of game or 34-31 where it's just high-octane offense, just moving the ball down the field, and just one team's defense, you know, can't get a stop at the end. You know, yeah, Lamar nor Josh Allen should be shredded. But I'm thinking about if these teams lose, you know, if one of these players lose, and one of them will obviously, you know, Lamar is going to get shredded because there's been a constant theme. You know, Stu, if Josh Allen loses this game and he plays well, I wonder what we're talking about. Like, if Josh Allen doesn't play well, yes, Josh Allen's going to, hey, the Bills, that's what they are. That's the DNA of their franchise. They are an organization. You know, Jim Kelly went through it. You got the 4 Super Bowl appearances. You can't win one. Josh Allen has been there, trying to, chip away, AFC Championship game, classic divisional round games, can't get the job done, and that will be talked about. But I do kind of agree with Ty Dunne, where he said, when I asked him, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen, who's more pressure, and he goes, oh, Sean McDermott. And I do think there's a way where McDermott is getting more of the heat than Josh Allen if the Bills don't win Sunday. So, like, I don't want to argue with myself here. But because I just told you that Josh Allen's under the most pressure this weekend because he's home, right? He doesn't have an MVP. And also, he is asked to do more because he doesn't have, and Lamar is asked to do a ton. You know, but you got to have tiebreakers here. But Lamar Jackson has another complimentary piece that is great in Derrick Henry. Like, I like James Cook. I think James Cook is a really good running back, but hot take of the day, he is not Derrick Henry. But where you could say there's more pressure on Lamar is I don't know who we're blaming if it's not Lamar. Like, the defense I know has been up and down in Baltimore, but the defense last year was really good up against the Chiefs, and Lamar didn't bail them out. You know, do I think we're blaming John Harbaugh? Probably not. Do I think we're blaming Derrick Henry? Probably not. Could it be like a wide receiver if Zay Flowers plays and he made a boneheaded decision last year with the fumble situation? Yeah, I guess, and the emotions. But it seems pretty clear and obvious here that if the Ravens don't win this game, it's Lamar Jackson who's the player who's the person, not player, person that we're talking about the most. If it's the Bills, how many times have we seen Buffalo have a really good effort by Josh Allen in the postseason, and then you see the defense mess it up in 13 seconds or less, or Sean McDermott makes a boneheaded play call? So I think there's more excuses to be made and more people to examine on why Buffalo didn't win the game. But I still look at the situation, Stu, of just Lamar up against Josh and you know, who has won MVPs, who hasn't, who is home and who is not, and the talent on offense in one spot compared to the other. And I do think there's more pressure on Josh Allen to get the job done. And also, if you lose this one to the Ravens, and I know they've already lost to the Ravens this year, but next week, you also think about, okay, I know we haven't beat the Chiefs when it's mattered in the postseason, but we have beat them 4 times in the regular season. So it's one of those things of, oh, we couldn't even get there. And if we got there, maybe we would have beat Kansas City because we beat them the last 4 years in the regular season. So I'll ask you this, Stu. Which quarterback's under more pressure this weekend, Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen?
I think it's Lamar. I think the fact that going into the season, I think a lot of people were down on the Bills. Some people thought they would finish second or third in the East. They obviously didn't do that. They kind of overcame that. And then the Ravens, you look at the Ravens, the way last season ended, they add Derrick Henry in the offseason, so that's a big piece. That the Bills really didn't do anything crazy this offseason. They kind of got rid of more guys than adding more guys in terms of star power. So I just think if the Ravens lose, it's going to be really bad for Lamar. And if, kind of like you said, if the Bills lose, yeah, Josh Allen's going to get criticism, but it's going to be McDermott. It's going to be team building. It's going to be they don't have enough around Josh Allen. I think that's going to be more of the conversation. So I think it is Lamar that has more pressure on him.
I have vacillated on this answer, I think, every day this week. You know, I can make the case for Lamar. I can make the case for Josh, but I am leaning towards Josh Allen in this one. I can't wait for that game. Sunday, I think, is going to be a wonderful day of football because I believe the Rams are alive. I'll tell you who I think is going to win the game when we do picks with Perloff in just a bit, but I think the Rams are alive. And really, the Ravens, I know they beat the Bills earlier in the year, but the Ravens being a 1.5-point favorite on the road in Buffalo, I don't know what Vegas is trying to make me do. I don't know what mind games Vegas is doing because in one aspect, I could look at it and be like, are they daring me to plus the points here with Buffalo or take Buffalo on the money line? Or in the other realm, is it, okay, a lot of people are loving the Ravens right now because, right, the Ravens are sexy. You got Lamar Jackson, you got Derrick Henry. That's fun. That's a sexy offense when you have those two guys and what they're able to do. But, like, you look at the Ravens, I can see a lot of people saying, the Ravens are only a 1.5 favorite? Like, only? Like, I'll lay the number, right? So I think Vegas is in a good spot here. I don't know how the money's coming on in. I would imagine more of it is on the Ravens. But that has been the game that has just been, hey, you want to have a mind bleep in terms of trying to pick a game? Absolutely, it's the Ravens and Bills. So who's under more pressure? Is it Lamar? Is it Josh Allen? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. At Zach Gelb, Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you follow. Make sure you interact with us. At Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. We'll take a break. We'll welcome in one of our teammates here at the Infinity Sports Network. You listen to him Monday through Friday from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Many of these same Infinity Sports Network affiliates. Sirius XM, channel 375. The free Odyssey app, and they stream live on YouTube as well. That's Andrew Perloff from the Maggie and Perloff Show. He'll join us with some Perloff picks next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network, now joining us. You can listen to him all week long, Monday through Friday. Operates the morning shift here on the Infinity Sports Network from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and many of these same Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming on YouTube. He is the co-host of the Maggie and Perloff extravaganza. That is the great Andrew Perloff. Pearl, what's happening?
Hey, I see you at Sport and Temple. We had a big win this week because, as you know, I glom on when they're good.
Yes, very big. Penny Hardaway, you bum, all right? Temple won. I'm very happy. Mama's cheesesteaks for all. That's the way that I'm kind of in the line of thinking right now.
Let's go. Wait, by the way, have you tried the new Bradley Cooper cheesesteak place around the corner from our workplace?
So I have not. Have you?
No, I have not. It's got weird bread, so I'm nervous. It's got sesames on the bread.
Yeah, no, that's very good bread. It is from Angelo's. It's the same cheesesteak. You know what? That would be a good content idea. I don't care if the company comps it or not. We should have Kaplan take you and I, because we are the cheesesteak experts around here.
Yeah.
And we go to the new Bradley Cooper cheesesteak shop. And we have to wait. Well, we'll go with you. You're a big star, so we won't have to wait in line. But 3 hours I've seen people waiting for a cheesesteak. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, we've already started plans, and you are more than welcome to join. We were going to do that, but I didn't realize it was a 3-hour wait. I don't know how we're going to do that part of it, but yeah, I'm in. And by the way, I mean, Zach, let's not beat around the bush. We got to start talking food plans for New Orleans. I assume that's what the main function of me coming on right now is.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit annoyed. I love Sully, but I told Sully that I'm mad at him that he is not coming on this trip, which I always feel as if Sully says he's not going to go on the trip, and then we'll get a text like the day of, hey, guys, I just landed in New Orleans. Where you at? I made one reservation so far, GW Fins, which I've never been to, but I told, like, you have to go. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of food consumed in New Orleans, one of my favorite cities in the world.
Yeah, I mean, getting Sully east of the Mississippi is a challenge. So I understand that. The one thing, there's a joke in a new movie, but New Orleans has 1,000 restaurants all with the same menu. So that is a little bit of the issue. There is some rumblings out there that New Orleans can get repetitive as a food town. I didn't say it. Just in case there are any Louisiana listeners, I did not say that. It was not Andrew Perloff.
Are you a picky eater? You don't come off to me as someone that's picky, right?
No, not at all. I'll try anything.
Yeah, so like turtle soup, you have no problem trying.
I love it. It's amazing. And that's a big Philly food too. You ever hear of Bookbinder's restaurant in Philadelphia? It's the most famous restaurant. They invented snapper soup. You can find it in the shelves of the grocery store. Bookbinder's snapper soup. I own a tortoise. I could bring him up. But I would eat him if it came down to it.
What are you doing for dinner tonight? Maybe I'm coming over. I don't think your daughters would be too happy if you killed a turtle.
No, that would be very bad. That would be very bad.
That would be a horrific sight, but it would do a lot of views online. I will just say.
This is terrible.
Terrible. Awful. I'm a terrible human being. All righty, before we get to picks, let me just pick your brain on a few things. Ben Johnson. Where do you think Ben Johnson's coaching next year?
I was just telling Stu that there's a report, and I apologize, I don't even know where it's from, that he could become the highest paid coach in NFL history by the Las Vegas Raiders. So I remember they made Gruden a 10-year, $100 million deal. I think Chicago is still the most likely destination. I think it's a little more likely, but I do think Vegas will make the Godfather offer, and then we'll see. So I would vote slight edge Chicago with Vegas second, Jacksonville third.
I'm annoyed with him by now. It's like last year you didn't take the Commanders job. The Bears and the Jaguars, you have resistance because of their GMs. If he goes to the Raiders, I'd be happy for Stu because I think the guy could be a good coach. But what outside of the fact that they don't have a GM and Tom Brady's there, why the heck would you go to the Raiders? And that's where I feel like he's going right now because there's no GM in place.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You could bring a guy. I mean, maybe you make the argument that you're starting from scratch. So you could build your team, bring over some of the Lions guys. I know Kevin Zeitler is a free agent. Bring over guys who know the system. Like, remember when Rex Ryan came to New York and he brought his team? I guess, because there's no one there to displace. You just bring a whole new team.
So get into the Cowboys. What a mess this is. Like, the search isn't even, officially underway. Like, you don't know all the candidates. But McCarthy basically told him to go pound Sam when they probably gave him only a 2-year extension, which I'm good with. We'll see if Mike winds up with the Saints or if he goes to the Bears or if he just doesn't have a job at all. Where are you at with Dion? You think Dion's going? I think it's going to be Kellen Moore.
I think it's – I hate to agree with you. I think it's Kellen Moore too. I think Jerry doesn't make the splash hire. I don't even know where this Dion stuff came from. Jerry did sign Bill Parcells in the late 90s, but he needed a stadium. He needed to win some games. Then he went with Dave Campo, Chan Gailey, Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett for a decade almost.
A lot of
Mike
puppets.
McCarthy. So boring, though. Yes, exactly. Kellen Moore fits the Dave Campo Chan. He is Chan. He's a young Chan Gailey. Basically, he fits what Jerry does. And I don't think Jerry does a coaching search like everyone else. I think he likes people he's comfortable with. I think relationships are really big to him. I don't think he's I got to get the hot guy like Ben Johnson. I think it's more likely he's got to get someone he's comfortable with.
Well, how about this? And you followed football for a long time, longer than me, obviously, as Andrew Perloff is here. I've never seen a search. We had Nick Harris on the other day who covers the Cowboys. He goes, well, Jason Witten will be on staff, and the running backs coach is either going to be DeMarco Murray or Tashard Choice. I'm like, We already know who the running backs coach is and another guy that's going to be on staff, but we don't know who the head coach is. The Cowboys, they just can't get out of their own way. It's amazing.
What about it? Is Al Harris still there too? The DB, the renowned DB coach?
Yeah. What's next? Drew Pearson's going to be the wide receivers coach? Like, come on. It's just crazy.
That's true. Also, I keep telling Maggie the Cowboys schedule brutal next year. They get the NFC North, which is going to be incredible, and they get the AFC West with those three coaches. So I think, and Washington's better. I think this is a rebuild's coming soon, like it or not.
So, like, what's Maggie's plans? Just wondering for Sunday. Like, she has now to go on the treadmill during the game, right? That has to happen.
You know, I was walking out of the studio and she's saying, she said something to the fact that the treadmill didn't work in the third quarter of a game like 3 weeks ago. She's so darn superstitious. You can't even keep track of where she is. So now she's weighing the options of the treadmill and just wine. just wine. Alcohol.
You know what? I would say get rid of the treadmill. It's just ridiculous. To watch a football game on the treadmill is ridiculous. I would get some wings, some blue cheese. Yeah. And if they win, I think Maggie has to like throw blue cheese all over her head and celebrate that way, like it's the Duke Mayo's Bowl. But yeah, if they don't win, I think wine is the way to go for Maggie Gray. No one's winning on the treadmill on a football Sunday.
But I don't understand, and I think I do understand. Like, I got a team that's alive this weekend. I have the Eagles. Nobody cares, but I think it's because I have that ring. Yes. I think it's it doesn't like. I've won. Like, I'm not going to sit on a treadmill to help Jalen Hurts and the gang. Like, that's on them.
Let's be real. Even if the Eagles didn't have a Super Bowl ring, you're not getting on a treadmill on a football Sunday.
No, not on a Sunday. I am superstitious, though.
Yeah.
As we all are. Oh, yeah. If we score a touchdown and I'm standing over by the refrigerator, I have to watch the rest of the drive that from there. I am weirdly superstitious.
I heard if you had turtle soup tonight, homemade, that the Eagles are going to win. That's what I heard. Last thing I'll ask you before the picks. Notre Dame, Ohio State. You always have a peculiar pick here. Are you going against the grain? You're taking Notre Dame?
I'm taking Notre Dame to cover, Ohio State to win. But I think Ohio State has won it. Remember how Dean Smith is the only person who could hold Michael Jordan under 20 points? Ryan Day and Chip Kelly are the only people who can hold Jeremiah Smith under 100 yards. In fact, they can hold him under 5 yards. They are so – because I picked them a lot this year, and watching them randomly go conservative killed me. And I think they'll do that again. They think their defense can check Notre Dame, and they'll probably want to win this game like 24-17 instead of what they should do and go out and win 41-7. But I got to warn you, I am picking Notre Dame to cover, but Nick Kostos came on and was today from BetQL, our buddy. He was so confident Ohio State's going to blow him out. I admit I did stop in my tracks.
Now, I will say this.
Yeah, what's your take? I'm dying to know.
Well, here's what I'll say with Nick. You know, he is due to kind of go viral for the wrong reasons. Like, Nick is usually always right, so there could be some cold takes exposed. I'm giving a spite pick. I'm entitled to one spite pick a year. I can't stand Ohio State. I do not want to see Ohio State win. I do not want to see Ryan Day be happy. I think Ohio State's the better team. I think they should win the game. But give me in honor of the great Lou Holtz, where Ryan Day was disrespectful to Lou Holtz last year and he did not respect his elders. I will take Jeremiah Love and a bunch of defense and special teams. 23-20 Notre Dame in the Zach Gelb Show spite pick of the year.
I love it. But, you're going to watch that game. And if that happens, that will be the biggest blown opportunity because Ohio State's so much better, especially with Notre Dame's injuries. That'll be the inferior team winning the game because they have a lot more heart than Ohio State. And I love the Ohio State players. But when Travion Henderson hit that guy in the face in the middle of the semifinal game, I'm like, dude, who are you playing for? Are you playing for yourself or are you playing for the team? In Notre Dame, everyone plays for the team. They love Marcus Freeman. By the way, and spite pick, have you ever met anyone who doesn't like Marcus Freeman?
Brian Kelly. That's probably it. Brian Kelly has to hate his guts now. Man, you're doing what I couldn't do at Notre Dame. But outside of Marcus Freeman's one, we go back to week 2 this season. Yeah, Pat Boyle couldn't stand Marcus Freeman after what happened up against NIU.
Pat Boyle, I go for his scouting report every day. And by the way, I don't know have you talked to him?
Yeah,
our buddy. He's a little pessimistic about this matchup.
He's been pessimistic. He goes into the year they're winning the championship. They lose to NIU, and then you would have thought they were South Harmon Institute of Technology. Like, seriously, he has not said a nice thing about them since the loss to NIU. Anyway, Let's cue up the music here, Stu, and let's get to the 4 games this weekend for some NFL picks.
It's time for NFL picks on the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, NFL picks time. Perloff, we have the Texans and the Chiefs. We'll just go in order here. Chiefs are an 8-point favorite. What's your pick?
So we make picks in the last hour of our show, and I picked the Texans to cover. I had 8.5 at the time. I just think that's too many points because of the way the Chiefs have played this year. Like, all of a sudden, the Chiefs are going to become the high-octane Chiefs. Even in last year's playoffs, they were kind of conservative. I don't give the Texans a prayer to win this game, but I feel like the Chiefs will keep it close. I mean, they played earlier, it was 27-19. I think this might be a better Texans team because the defense is healthy. So I think it's a kind of a slog, and I'm giving Texans a chance to cover. Chiefs to win, Texans to cover.
I see the game exactly the same way. I think this is going to be a sloppy game. First half could be a little bit ugly. Maybe we're saying, the Texans could pull off the upset. When push comes to shove, Mahomes and Kelsey, they'll do what Planet players do, and that makes Planet plays this time of the year. We'll use your line because it benefits both of us, so we will buy up the half point there. We will both go Texans plus 8.5 points. My next pick, we will go Commanders and Lions. This spread is Detroit laying 9.5. I think this is begging you to take the Commanders. I know that everyone loves this Commanders story. Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, Adam Peters, no more Daniel Snyder in that organization with Josh Harris running the team. I just see the Lions winning this game by 10 points. I like Detroit like 30-20. So give me the Lions laying the 9.5 points. You?
Yeah. Simpatico. Once again, I got it. You're going to get mad at me. I got it at 8.5 on DraftKings this morning. It came down, and then I don't know if it's gone back up. And that was a key number for me. Not that that is a key number. I know that's not a betting key number, but I agree. I think that it's interesting because they have David Montgomery back. They can salt away a lead. The Commanders, I've been getting a lot of flack on social. I'm not sold on the Commanders. If Jalen Hurts hadn't gotten hurt in that last game that the Commanders won 36-33, I think the Eagles blow them out. I don't think their defense is great. Jaden Daniels, fantastic. He's the best. But I think the defense is the weak link here.
All righty, we'll continue to use your lines because if they keep on benefiting both of us, we'll keep on going that way. So Lions laying 8.5, Texans plus 8.5. All righty, Rams and Eagles. I will be in attendance. I don't know. Are you?
You are going? Okay.
You going? No?
I'm not going to this game. I can't because of family commitments.
So what are you doing during the game? You watching with your family?
No, I basically can't leave early for Philly that day. I got to drive my kids around, so I'll watch it at home.
But you will be watching the game as it happens.
Oh, no, there's no family commitment. It would keep me away from a TV. Yeah.
So here's the spread. I believe we both have, there's the Eagles. The spread is 6.5. I haven't seen it anywhere different in any other book, but you tell me with whatever line you have and what you want to go with.
Well, I would tell you right now, we had it at 6 this morning. Now, I think that half-point game because of the snow. I'm being dead serious. We knew there was a chance of snow. That has changed a lot. Remember, we're at 9 o'clock this morning, Zach. I've been following the Doppel whatever radar really closely. This is a disaster for the Rams. I think the Rams are a really, really good team, and I think they screwed themselves by navigating so they had to go to Philly in the second round. This is the worst trip. I don't think they're good outside. I think the Eagles cover this game.
So what is it supposed to be, 4 or 5 inches of snow?
Possibly, yeah. I actually don't have the number, but definitely precipitation, definitely cold.
So I'm worried because I'm driving down to the game, right?
Yeah.
And then I have to leave afterwards because I got to get back to New York City on Sunday night because I'm going to the national championship game on Monday. I hope.
What, are you flying out in the morning?
Yeah, flying out in the morning. Like 7 a.m. flight, I think. On Monday, so the airport better have their damn act together because if I have delays, we all went to Kansas City for the draft. Everyone got home safely, but me. I had to stay an extra night in Kansas City, so I just hope I don't get screwed over here. Anyway, I'm using 6.5 because I'm taking the points with the Rams. I think this is a close game. I love Verse. I love Fisk, but I think the Eagles still win. They're just going to have to sweat it out. And maybe Jake Elliott hits a little game-winning kick in the snow. Rams plus 6.5. Perloff has to sweat it out a little bit, but his Eagles do advance to the next round.
It's freezing. You're not going to sweat. And if Jake Elliott's not coming out on that field, like nobody trusts him. Let me ask you a question about the Rams. If this game was in LA, who would you pick money line wise?
I think I'd pick the Rams.
Me too.
Yeah, I think I would pick the Eagles at home in the playoffs is just so tough. You know, when Andy Reid was the coach, different. With Nick Sirianni and Doug Peterson as the coach, home playoff game, Philadelphia, very tough. All righty, finally, Ravens and Bills. Bills are a 1.5-point dog. Ravens the 1.5-point favorite. What's your pick on this toss-up?
Why is a divisional round home team an underdog? I know it's only 1.5. I assume that's the number right. Yeah, I picked the Bills. And again, because of weather. This is so stupid, my reasoning. Josh Allen's bigger, will deal with the elements better than Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson, the coldest game he's ever played is 27 degrees. Everyone on my Twitter feed says, oh, he plays at Baltimore. He's used to the cold weather. No quarterback likes the cold weather. I feel like Buffalo can play conservative style football better than Baltimore because with that weather, you're going to take out the big explosive plays. You're not going to have Rashad Bateman 50-yard touchdowns. I think Buffalo is designed to win at home in this condition.
We're on the same picks for 3 out of the 4. I'm taking the Bills as well, plus 1.5. I think the Bills win the game outright. So Perloff and I are both on the Texans plus 8.5. The Lions laying at 8.5. The Bills plus 1.5. And then Perloff is on the Eagles laying 6.5. I'm on the Rams plus 6.5 points. Appreciate you doing this, Pearl.
Yeah, my pleasure. Can't wait to hang out in New Orleans, bud.
You got it. Tell your daughters to enjoy that turtle soup tonight, all right?
Later.
There he is, Andrew Perloff, the co-host of the Maggie and Perloff show right here on the Infinity Sports Network from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern time. And that will be fun in New Orleans. Always good to see Maggie, Perloff, and also EJ. I'll tell you, I think EJ's the most underrated. Because EJ, he has an impeccable ability to find really good restaurants. I've had some good meals on some network trips with EJ in his short time as the producer of the Maggie and Perloff show. You know what? I think he had a good rookie experience last year. I'm just hoping he doesn't have a sophomore slump here because I'm really, really, really relying on EJ for some good recommendations. Update time. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Mike Borgonzi has been with the Chiefs since 2009 and was part of their 3 titles. He is now going to take the next step, reportedly becoming the new general manager of the Titans. The Lions are one of the NFL's oldest teams and also one without a Super Bowl. Detroit has been energized by this revitalized team. They now are 2 wins away from a trip to New Orleans and will host the Commanders tomorrow night. Dan Campbell has done wonders in Detroit, but has the ultimate amount of respect for the man on the opposite sideline in Dan Quinn.
Got a lot of respect for what he's done, and I'm not surprised that they're where they're at. Just knowing, kind of the way he builds things, the way his attitude is, and so it's impressive.
Bobby Wagner will play for the Commanders, while the Lions will have both David Montgomery and Terrion Arnold, the 2-time defending champs. The Chiefs will host the Texans in the first game. Zay Flowers is listed as doubtful. He hasn't practiced all week. However, John Harbaugh was trying to keep the door open for a possible return. Joel Embiid has missed the last 6 games and will now miss at least another 7 to 10 days because of increased swelling in his knee following a workout. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. We're the Backstreet Boys, and you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
All right, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's go to Bella B in Calgary. Hey, Zach, if a player you really like gets traded to a team that you really hate, do you like him less? Thanks, Bella B in Calgary. You can submit a question by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stu, I think for you, you may feel happy for the player because they escaped the Raiders. Like, let's say if there's a player you really like and he gets traded somewhere else that's in a much better situation. I think, Stu, you're at the point where you're such a tortured soul that you don't hate the player. You just hate the organization. You go, okay, I wish that player the best. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say so.
So if I have a player that I like really like, and he gets traded to another team, do you like him less? Like, yeah, I like him less because he's not on my team. But am I sitting there rooting against the player and hoping that the player is horrible? No. And I've had some friends that are on teams that I did not like as a kid. And, I think you root for the relationship and the friendship more. But then if they go up against your team, you're rooting for your team. So that's the way that I would answer that. All righty, Stu. What's the headline on Monday? Texans and Chiefs. What do you think the headline is?
I think it's a blowout win for the Chiefs, and I think the offense comes alive and they score in the 30s, which is not something they've really done too much this year. So I think that's what we're talking about, a blowout win.
I think the Texans scare the Chiefs a little bit. I think the Chiefs still win, but I believe that people are going to be saying, is the winner of Buffalo or the Ravens going to do what we've all been wanting teams to do, and that's take down Kansas City when it matters. Commanders-Lions. What is the headline coming up on Monday?
I think it's going to be proof that for like a rookie quarterback like Jaden Daniels, it's just going to be too much too soon, and he's going to struggle. As good as he is, I just think it's going to be rough for him, and I would be pretty shocked again if it's a close game.
I'm going to look at Aaron Glenn. I think this is a big Aaron Glenn spot, where just like how it was on that final regular season game up against the Vikings, he started to get a lot of praise. I think you'll have a effusive amount of praise for Aaron Glenn coming up on Monday. Rams-Eagles. What's your headline, Stu?
Nick Sirianni costs the Eagles, and they go home.
You're picking the Rams to win?
I'm picking the Rams to win.
Wow. Nick Sirianni cost the Eagles, and the Eagles are going home. And that could be a spot for Matthew Stafford, another huge win. And then can you imagine Stafford going to Detroit? I know we saw it last year in the postseason. We've seen him play also in the regular season too this year. Could you imagine we get an NFC Championship game? Rams, Lions, and for the Lions to get to the Super Bowl, they have to beat their old pal and Matthew Stafford. And let me tell you something. Matthew Stafford could become really unpopular in Detroit if he walks into Detroit and sends the Lions home and they don't get to the Super Bowl. If that's the matchup next week on Conference Championship Sunday. That would really be something. And also, Kelly Stafford's going to do something insufferable. Because whenever she goes to those games, she makes herself out to be the victim when talking to the fans and all that stuff. I think that's just for podcast clicks. I don't really think Lions fans are being rude to Kelly Stafford. Like, they booed your husband. What do you expect? Your husband's on the opposition. I think the book club is a huge headline. I do. I just envision 60,000 Eagles fans showing up with inner excellence. No, but all kidding aside, Jalen Hurts does enough. Jalen Hurts knocks off the rust and sets up the stage for the two best teams in the NFC with the Lions and the Eagles. Ravens and Bills. This is the juiciest.
Yep.
Texans, Chiefs, Commanders, Lions, the headlines are whatever. Rams, Eagles. Stu, you had a very good headline. What's your headline for Ravens and Bills?
I think it is 5 Josh Allen touchdowns, and they do just enough offensive. I mean, I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout, even despite the cold weather. I think it's still going to be a shootout, and I think it's going to be the Bills doing just enough to get, over the Ravens.
Wow. 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And just enough? And yes, I slammed the baseball bat here. I have the Manny Rodriguez bat.
I think it's going to be something like 38-35, 38-34.
I think I should hide this bat, by the way.
So Manny doesn't know where it is?
I think Manny would lose his mind. Be like if you hide a dog treat from a dog and they can smell it, but they have no clue where it actually is. You know what? I think we need to put you up against Hickey. Billy Wolf just said, hot take smoking Stu. Craig, Stu is becoming hot take Hickey.
No, I don't want that.
But if you think about it, you could be right take Stu or something, or smart take Stu. because I know Hickey, he said that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl this year. He always picks against the Bills. You're taking the Rams, and then you are taking the Bills. So this could be a hot take Hickey battle up against smart take Stu. I really hope you're right, because I kind of like smart take Stu.
Has a ring to it.
It does. Anyway, though, Ravens and Bills, the headline, Bills get the job done. Josh Allen proves why he's the MVP, even though it's a regular season award. And now, Buffalo, can you get the job done when it matters the most up against the Kansas City Chiefs? Stu, I actually think you did a better job in that segment than me. And I don't usually say that. But I think we should do this as a segment now moving forward. What's the headline with Stu? Because your headlines, especially the last two, Stu got that dog in him. Stu got that creativity in him. That was a pretty good job. Maybe you had a little smoke break during the commercial break. That's why Stu was so creative today. Set himself off on a football Friday in a little bit of good mood. Jamming. All righty, man. All righty, that will do it for the Zach Gelb Show, the Infinity Sports Network. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. For Stuart Kovacs and Michael Stampter and also Rich Ackerman, we thank you for tuning in, whether it's a Sirius XM channel 375, one of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, the free Odyssey app, and is always streaming on YouTube. I'll be here Sunday for Sunday morning football, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern time, many of these same stations. And then on Monday, as long as the weather cooperates, I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia for the national championship game, broadcasting to you in our normal time slot, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. We will chat on Sunday. We'll chat on Monday as well. Have a great weekend, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.